Hello. Let's see.
It's like it's live on my end.
Yeah? Can you hear me on?
Let me see.
Oh, okay. Cole Cole spoke. See, there's like such a lag time between, and I realize everybody can hear me. But I'm just talking to Stag right now, so fuck it, whatever. That's I don't know what we're talking about. Sugars with your coffee. Man, if you have sugar in your coffee, the more sugars you have, the more you rot your teeth and the weaker you are as a person.
Yeah, no, I've never like I'm drinking coffee right now. I have never once put a speck of sugar in it. Like I mean, I will put milk in it and occasionally creamer, such as today. But if you get hazelnut coffee, don't put anything in it. It's perfect as it is.
See, I just get it. If I go get coffee somewhere, I'm just like large black because to me, the point of coffee is suffering. If you don't
I can understand
suffer,
that. Yeah,
why are you drinking it?
life is suffering.
Yeah.
I don't know who says that though.
I mean, a lot of people.
Okay.
Really. How will you grow big and sumo strong without sugar? With beer. Haven't you learned anything yet? It's with beer. That's how you do it.
There you go.
Anyway, hello everybody. And also say hello to Cyberstag from the New to Sumo podcast. He will be
Hello
introducing.
to Cyberstag from the New to Sumo podcast.
Okay, you son of a bitch. He is going to introduce his team's picks because it's the two of them. As we go along, and I've also, if you'll note, this is their tier list, and this is the community tier list, which you can tell because I have made all of you honorary S tier for today, because that also helps me organize. Beer. Honestly, they should just eat and not really drink so much alcohol. And I think a lot of them don't drink that much anymore. Like, that's, from what I can tell, it's been decreasing. But, I mean, like Midori Fuji said, oh yeah, those heart problems that kept me out of the last tournament, it's because I drink too much. Like, bro, how did you not even notice? How did that not connect?
Not me. Oh, were you talking to me or were you talking to Statusinator?
I'm talking to everybody.
Okay.
You can just like respond to anything you feel like, man. Just go ahead
Yeah,
and
I
talk.
mean, listen, I'm an hour earlier than you are, so
Oh
like
my
I'm
god,
still kind of
I thought you were like
I'm
an
still
hour
kind of just
later.
waking up. You're on the East Coast. How could I be an hour where in the
No.
world could I possibly be where I'm an hour later?
No, so that means we're on the same time.
Oh, okay. I thought
I
you
go
were Eastern time.
I put everything in Eastern time because it's easier because that's what everybody's used to. Like if you see
Oh.
like a sports game, they're like, it's gonna be at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, right?
Right. Well, I mean, and as they should, because as I learned, I think last year, 45% of the entire country lives in the Eastern time zone.
Right.
So yeah. So
And I
honestly, like any sports league that doesn't optimize
right.
its viewing for the East Coast is doing themselves a pretty serious disservice.
And like, I would say nobody gives a shit about our time zone, but truthfully, nobody gives a shit about the mountain time zone. Ours is an afterthought, but it's not quite as bad. People forget that the
No,
mountain time zone is there.
I have only known one person, I think, in my entire life who lives in Mountain. Oh no, two people in my entire life that live in Mountain Time.
Yeah. One of my best friends lives in Montana, and it's like, I'm so sorry. And they're like, I understand. It's just like, you just end up there. The Mountain Time Zone is a place where you end up. The other time zones are places where you can go. Mountain Time Zone is where you're there and you don't quite know how you got there.
I mean, that's just bad spawn. You know, where like if you're ever playing, you know, a video game and you just like die in a really inconvenient location, you know, and it takes you like a whole lot of time to backtrack. It's like, yeah, 90% of the time you'll take the effort to, you know, to get out of there, but that other 10% you're like, man, I'm just turning the game off.
Yeah. Also, the game with spawns that I've played most recently is Project Zomboid, which is its own kind of mess if you spawn in a bad place. So, like...
Wyoming's the death loop state, true enough. Well, I'd say Idaho, because, like, man, there are some parts of Idaho that are just like, it's almost like a different planet.
Yeah, Idaho
seen.
Actually is Project Zomboid, I think. All right.
Don't tell one of my former coworkers who lived in Idaho for a while that I said that, though.
But did they live there willingly?
Yes, but in a very roundabout way. But anyway, let's talk about stuff that won't get us canceled, such as our sumo opinions.
Idaho, no. Idaho can't cancel us. They don't have that kind of power. Idaho has no sway in this house. So, I mean, we can just move on with the tier list because that's why we're here. But I'm just saying, for the record, Idaho can eat a bag of dicks. So, and if they don't like it, cancel me. Try it, motherfuckers.
Yes, there's 2 of us and only 2 of you.
Okay, Canadian.
Okay, my Ryuden opinions might cancel you if you know, but we'll get to him later in the tier list.
I mean, if your Ryuden opinion is he's a swell guy and he's never done anything wrong, yeah, you should probably get yeeted off a cliff. I mean, that's a pretty good form of canceling. Our Ryuden opinions aren't going to do anything to us. We're on the side of the angels.
Yeah, I mean, we're on the only side that matters, which is the correct side.
That is, yes. Then we're not going to go into that too far. Okay, tier list time. We got a little bit over 100 people who jumped in on this, and I appreciate all of you for doing that. Got the numbers back up, which means I must have messed up last time in advertising it, and not as many people knew about it. So that's on me. But we can just get started. So I'm going to go with what the community put for stuff, and we're going to zoom this in so everybody can see it. And then we're going to let CyberSag introduce their picks and tell you why you're wrong. So, number 1, Hoshoryu. This is a pretty clear A+. A lot of people have a little more faith in him. They think he's going to go to S tier. And that makes enough sense, but A+ is the pick. This seems about correct. I did not alphabetize anything. I'm just going to have to suffer, and that is fine. CyberSag, what did you guys pick?
Yeah, so me and Maki Fuji, who is, by the way, Maki the Based in chat right now, so please at and annoy Maki the Based in chat.
Yes, disconnection. I don't know what happened here. All right, we're back. We're back.
All right, are we back?
Yes, we're back.
Excellent. Okay. Yes. Talking about Hoshoryu real quick. I think you know, as long as he attends all 15 days and doesn't get hurt, you know, he feels more and more like a lock for 10 to 12 wins, even when he has a quote unquote bad tournament. Yeah, I like, unless it's an injury, I don't see him doing worse than that. Now, whether he can do 12 or better, you know, that really might come down to whether the guys that frequently give him problems are going to, you know, are going to be there by the end. And you know, he seems to be overcoming that obstacle. So I think A+ is a solid spot for him right now.
Yeah, he's another guy along with Yoshinofuji. I mentioned it with Yoshi, but not with Hoshoryu, that Onosato's absence, if he's absent, assuming he's absent by the end of the tournament, is actually bad for him. Because he's so good against Onosato, he actually kind of wants that matchup. He should be able to win that matchup. So, like, that's actually not a benefit, which is unusual for a Yokozuna being out or badly injured. But we're all in agreement. We're all A+. We can all start this by feeling very smart. And maybe that's all about to change. Because we go to Onosato, and we're already voting. We're already putting in a vote for the audience.
Yeah, Onosato, like, I won't say what I said for him just yet until I see what the community said, but I do feel kind of bad for what I picked for Onosato, only because when I looked at some of the other picks that I made, my logic behind giving him that number is kind of inconsistent with my reasoning behind other wrestlers that are in kind of similar situations to him.
Fair enough.
So,
Now, I just want to note real quick, the poll's going up. Remember, this is what you think he'll do if he gets through 15 days. Because if he goes Kyujo for half the tournament, he just doesn't count. So, like, don't guess 4, because it's like, I think that's as far as he's going to go. There's actually a game that has you do that, but this is not it. We keep it simple here.
yeah, I can already tell, like, yeah, everyone here, like, not everyone here, but the consensus is that he's an A+ guy, you know, if he goes all 15 days. And I agree. I mean, he's never had fewer than 9 wins, or is it 8 wins? He's never had less than a losing record with 15 days. But, you know, if he ever reached like 5 or 6 losses within the first like 12, he would just bow out since he's a Yokozuna now. So, yeah, like, they're really like the thing is, if you assume that he's going to be there all 15 days, you kind of have to assume that he's going to be an A+, otherwise he just bows out. You know, he's not going to finish a tournament with 7 wins unless he gets hurt midway through. So it's so weird the way that we kind of have to predict a Yokozuna because of their sort of obligation to to withdraw if they're not in contention late in the tournament.
Yeah, so it looks like the community... Now, something that happened last time, and it was a little bit, not totally surprising, but a little bit surprising, was... Because anybody that shows up for this stream is a nerd, and that is wonderful, and I appreciate you all. But it also means you're going to be a little bit harsher than the broader community. And that didn't happen the first time we did this, but it's happened a little bit since. And so some of the polls end up going down. So on the responses, if we look again, there was 35 to 26 is close enough that I like to redo the vote. But here with the live chat, they overwhelmingly went A-, even though A+ was ahead on the response sheet. So,
and I can understand that, because you would probably expect that, like, his lingering injury will make him, maybe about like 2 to even 3 wins worse than he was, this time last year.
Right.
I am still gonna go A+ for him, just because I think that if he's healthy enough to make it to day 15, he's healthy enough to get 10 wins, and if he's healthy enough for 10, why not 12? Especially since he'll probably run circles around Onishki and Kirishima again. But that's a topic for about 10 minutes from now.
Yeah, like, it's weird that even with one arm, I still think he'd beat Kirishima's ass. And he still would probably beat Onishki, although that's sort of because of Onishki's
I mean,
foot.
he literally did.
Right.
When
but that was before everybody had figured out what to do to him. Like, now, like,
I mean,
yeah.
I firmly believe that, like, there are maybe only a dozen wrestlers on the entire Banzuke that he simply could not beat with one arm.
That,
You
but
know,
he
it might be like, and I mean like like tied behind his back, surgically removed, however you want to do it. Like he just generates so much strength that past a certain point, like most guys simply can't contend with that.
yeah,
It's one of the things that's allowed him to accelerate so high so quickly, possibly even to his own career detriment, but that remains to be seen.
yeah, it's unfortunate that all 12 of those guys are in the Joy and he would have to fight them with his schedule.
Very true. Speaking of the rest of the Joy, here's a guy that has just been Mr. Consistency for the past year, you know, for better or for worse.
Kotozakura. Okay, so I think there are more Kotozakura fans than actually want to admit they're Kotozakura fans, because he had one tournament where he looked actually mobile, and now the votes have absolutely spiked. Like, all of these people voting him for 9 to 11 wins was not a thing before. It was not a thing. But nobody's or not nobody, but a lot of people are not treating that as a one-off. They're treating it as, this is the new normal. This is what we expect to see. Now, B tier is way ahead, and it's far enough ahead that we're just going to go with it.
Yeah, and I also went B tier because, listen, the fact of the matter is, since last May, he has done exactly that, 8 to 10 wins in every single tournament. Even, maybe it would have been slightly better if he hadn't gotten injured at the end of September, but, that's neither here nor there. Like, he's an 8 to 10 win guy right now, and, that bodes well for a guy that seems to be struggling as physically as he is.
Yeah, it until last tournament. I'll at least acknowledge this part because I put him in B tier as well. It certainly seemed like he was inevitably going to go 7 and 8 at one point. Like this riding that really thin line to the end and just squeaking out the 8 and 7 was eventually going to fall flat at some point. Just enough that he would have he'd be 7 and 8, not worse than that. So I kept putting him C plus, 7 to 9 wins. That's what seemed safe. But if the one we saw in March shows up, I agree with you. He's an 8 to 10 win guy easily. Like, that is not a tough call.
Well, it also harkens back to a joke that me and my brother make on the show all the time, which is that there is not a single more dangerous wrestler in sumo than Kotozakura when he is at 7 wins. And there is not a less dangerous wrestler in all of sumo than Kotozakura when he is at 8 wins.
It took me a second to realize what you were saying, but yes, that is true.
No, like seriously, if you look at like last March, last May, last July, and this past January, it's like he reaches 8 wins and then boom, it's just 2 straight losses, 3 straight losses, 3 straight losses. It's insane how consistent he is at losing after that. In
fairness, as a top 4 guy, he has to fight the other top 4 guys the last 3 days. So picking up those losses on those days does make a lot of sense.
Oh, sure.
It's just, it's not surprising to me when he goes 8 and 4 and then loses the last 3. It's amazing how he goes 7 and 5, but still finds that win that he needs. So
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so like what you said, just one half of it doesn't surprise me. The other half of it is remarkable. Also, going back a little bit on the chat. So, you're playing FF14. Yuria, you have a friend in the chat. More FF14 nerds. We're just going to turn this. This is eventually going to become a mixed. Like the stream is going to be sumo, but the chat is going to be sumo, Pokemon, and Final Fantasy. That is sort of the Nostradamus part of this. And wait, who said the thing I was going? Oh yeah, fake. I don't think looking mobile is usually a fluke. Well, you'd think that, but then you look at his Kotoshoho. I don't know if that's his friend, his cousin, whatever, but Kotoshoho, when he looks mobile, he does things like go 11-4, and then he doesn't. And then it's like, where did that guy go? So it can be fluky. You can like just feel better for a tournament and go off because you're just moving better. And then the next time your knees feel decrepit again and all of a sudden it's over. That is a thing across sports. All right, we're going to move on to the other...
Really
go ahead.
Just to put a bow on that, there really aren't that many wrestlers like recently other than Churanoumi who win a tournament and say, oh, my body is just absolutely killing me. Like Churanoumi was a unicorn in that regard, where he could be at like maybe 70%, with like his spine, facing the wrong direction and still, get 12 wins. But that really is not the case, like for pretty much everyone else.
Churanoumi was a unicorn in terms of how intelligently he approached each fight. And I think that's what really made the difference. Like, he couldn't do many different things, and yet he still found different things to do when he needed to. And it was fascinating to watch the more he did it. That was how I viewed him. So, we're going to move on to the next standing Ozeki, who is Onishki, the man, the myth, the legend. And at 38%, I think that is a winning vote. A-, the community for Onishki. And I know this is where things are going to get a little bit spicy. Because the community says 9-11 wins. Okay, fair enough. I said 8-10 because that foot seems messed up. Reports are he is not even like practice fighting yet. He's just getting back into regular workouts. But he is so good. I think he can at least squeak out that Ozeki save. Cyberstag, where do you have him?
Okay. You guys might want to get your clipping and shipping ready because I am ready to defend this take. And
get your seatbelts on, motherfuckers.
It is with logic that I didn't necessarily apply to Onosato. I do expect Onishki to fight all 15 days. I put him at C-. I think that he is going to struggle the entire way, the same way that he did last tournament, because he is going to be fighting hobbled. I'm not hearing anything saying that his injury is simply gone and that he's going to, and I mean that he's, like back to his winning ways where he's going, like 10-5 against the higher tier. Like, no, I really think that he is going to just, that like day 15, he might be fighting to save rank entirely. And I'm willing to, like you can, you can throw this back in my face and I will happily, eat crow on whether it's my show or your show. I think that he is going to get demoted in this bacho. I think he's going to get demoted, and I don't even know if he's necessarily going to save rank in September. Sorry, July.
So where
you
do you
heard it
have
here
him?
first. Cyberstag is a official Onishki doubter for May 2026.
But where is he on the tier list?
C- for me.
Oh my god!
I think that he is going to, I think an 8 is possible. I just don't see the path to 9 with how difficult the schedule is going to be for him.
So the injuries,
his injury.
The injuries in that part of the Banzuke don't swing him a little bit higher in your estimation at all.
I just think it's too much to overlook. The impact. It's like the psychological impact, as much as the physical impact is kind of what I'm looking at. Like his aura of invincibility, or at least his aura of like being able to overachieve is gone now. And it's one thing for you or I to believe that. It's another thing if he believes that. And I think that is why he's going to struggle, because it is also possible that he's simply been figured out. Like, he's up in a spot where there's a lot of guys that he tends to struggle with. Hoshoryu finally figured him out. Onosato he's never been able to beat. Kotozakura managed to beat him. Yoshinofuji only managed to beat by, like, the hair on his chin. Like, there's a bunch of guys up there. I think he's even lost to Takayasu once or twice, which is absolutely unforgivable. Like, there really is a case to be made that he simply doesn't get it done this time, and I'm willing to die on that hill.
Okay. So,
Yeah, and Stinky agrees with me. Like, there's the blueprint for beating Onishki is blast him at the Tachi and do not let him get close to the belt. And the problem for him is that there's a bunch of guys up there right now that can do that.
So, you say he's been figured out enough. Cole says he doesn't think Onishki's been figured out. I actually fall between you two, even though that doesn't seem like it can be a thing. I think there is a blueprint for beating him. And in fact, there was one blueprint. Hit him. And now there's a second blueprint. Hook your right arm under his left and lift it up so he can't get to your belt. But there's still the question of who can do that. Because it's not everybody. It's not just enact, plan, win, match. A lot of these guys just don't have the juice to get that done. Now, Wakamoto was one of the guys that couldn't, and he has kind of fallen out of range. So that's to Onishki's detriment. But I'll say this. So he's lost to Takayasu once, and I think when he lost these matches matters. His one loss to Takayasu was in July 2025. Like, that was the first time they fought. And ever since, he's beat his ass. Like, so I think that's still a good matchup for him. He lost to Takanoshou for the first time. He lost to Atamifuji for the first time. But Takanoshou might be able to take advantage of a bad toe again. Atamifuji probably has a better chance of replicating his success from last time, because he got that underhook, and he's so big he might be able to do it again. Like, that I could see happening. But he lost to Kotoshoho, and his other loss to Kotoshoho was when Kotoshoho won his Yusho. So his two losses to Kotoshoho were when Kotoshoho was really on point. Well, is that going to happen again? It's never happened twice in a row for Kotoshoho. So if his ankle is off, if he's physically a little bit off, I think Onishki wins that fight, right? I don't think Hoshoryu's figured him out, but the injury could just swing that to Hoshoryu on its own.
I mean, figured out is like, I use the term a lot more loosely than I think others can. Like, obviously, as Mike Tyson said, everyone's got a plan until they get, punched in the face. So there's nobody that Onishki can't beat on a perfect day, except maybe Onosato, who he's never beaten. But like, I just think that there is a strategy that wrestlers can now employ that will give them a much higher chance of beating him than they probably had this time in, let's say, January or November of last year. That's
absolutely
kind of
true.
I meant in that regard. And that's where that's kind of why I just think the ceiling on the number of wins that he will achieve this tournament is lower.
Okay, fair enough. And to me, here's what's wild. Like, Onishki has 38% A- and 26% B, right? Kotozakura, 32% A-, 43% B. So Onishki actually has more favorable votes from the community, but we look at this as we're losing hope in Onishki, but we've got a lot more hope in Kotozakura. which is wild when they're both Ozeki.
Well, I mean, you know, recency bias, you know, God bless it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I will just throw this out here just to give a sense of how I view the idea of being figured out or having a plan on somebody. I think if you take like Oho, who's now got a 50-50 record against him, Hoshoryu, who has only beaten him once but is a Yokozuna, and Atamifuji, who also has beaten him once and is at this point still just a dude, I think Atamifuji actually has the most replicable plan for beating out Onishki. As wild as that might sound, I really do think that.
No, it doesn't sound wild at all, because here's the thing, like, Atamifuji is unique in that he is simultaneously about as round as Chiyomaru, God bless him, but can generate way more strength than he ever could. Like this year, Atamifuji seems to have finally like figured it out. You know, how to combine, and you know what? Maybe let's get to him in a little bit, because we do have Kirishima to cover first. But I like what you said about Atamifuji, and I'll revisit it in a minute.
It also helps a lot that Atamifuji is like 4 inches taller than Chiyomaru. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving along. The final Ozeki, the most excellent of Ozeki, as long as he's healthy, which he sure seems to be. Kirishima! Or Kirishima, which just might be correct, but it sounds too weird coming out of my face for me to stick with that. This one's definitely a vote. So yeah, we've got...
He's so tough to figure out, because it's like... whenever he seems to have a problem, it always like these days it always seems to be more psychological than physical. I do see a little sliver of folks that willing to give him 12 wins, and honestly, like, that isn't the worst idea in the world, because like outside of that strange 2023 tournament with Atamifuji and Takayasu, like 12 wins is usually the floor for how many wins you need to win a U-show. So, like, I can see him getting it, especially since he's fighting most of the same guys as last tournament. But for some reason, I went A- with him, and I'm
all right.
I'm kind of wavering on my A- with him, just because he seems to be in such great shape. Like, his head is back in the game. You know, like, he backed into a 12-3, which is kind of weird to say in this day and age.
I mean, so it's
but what I mean by backed into a 12-3, what I mean by that is that he didn't win his final 2, you know, against guys that he probably could have beaten, and you know, and like he really easily should have won at least one of those, and should have gone like 13-2. Like, it's so incredibly rare for a guy to win the tournament on day 13 with 12 wins. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's why it felt like a very weird March tournament for him.
So,
where like he could have done better even though he got 12 wins.
So in a phrasing sense, and I think this is important, when you say backed into, I mean, the community can speak up on what sounds like it makes more sense to them, because maybe I'm the crazy one here. But if someone backs into a 12-3 record, I hear that as being like 10-3 and then getting a couple of really shockingly easy matchups to finish off, and then finishing 12-3. Going 12-1 and then losing the last 2, to me, is more like collapsing to 12-3. Which also sounds really weird, because that is very, very rare. And still winning the U-show, at least. But that's a terminology thing. So that's just how I kind of view that. But the thing with him is, I don't think when you say he should have won one of the last 2, that makes sense. Because, like, if you're 12-1, how do you just lose the last 2? Except those were against opponents who bust his ass up repeatedly. Like Onishki, he's 1-4 against. Kotozakura, he's 16-9 against, except Kotozakura has won now 5 of the last 7 between them. For some reason, Kotozakura has absolutely started dominating the matchup. And I say for some reason, like, well, but Kirishima was hurt, right? So that should have explained it. But now it seems like Koto is he's just got a feel for that matchup. And if that's the case, then those two are still dangerous matchups going forward. Hoshoryu is a coin flip at best. So I have him at A+ because I think there's enough matches for him to get to 10. But I'm more of like a 10 to 11 guy on this.
Yeah, I think 10 to 11 is very reasonable. I guess, my sole concern is just, whether like he also maybe buys into his own hype the way that we kind of assume Onishki did at a certain point, and maybe it just, bugs him psychologically. Also, here's why I dropped it just slightly. If he fights Onosato, he's going to lose. Like, he hasn't shown that he can beat him yet. And, much like how Churanoumi was sort of his boogeyman, I think he went 0-11 or 0-12 against him by the time Churanoumi retired. Onosato has filled that role. He's the guy that he simply can't beat, and I don't think I do think Yokozuna is, believe it or not, still physically possible, but not if he can't learn to beat Onosato. So I'm standing firm at A-, and I'll be just as happy to be proven wrong if if he winds up with 12 and goes on a Yokozuna run.
Fair enough. So not a ton of votes in right now, but I think we've let it run long enough, and A- is slightly squeaking this one out for the community. So it looks like the people agree with you, and that's fair enough. Like that's a fair
power
take.
To the people. I always say.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing to say after your Onishki take.
Was that John Lennon? It was either me or John Lennon. I forget which of us said that.
I think it's like most union leaders too. Like there's a lot of people.
All right.
Okay. Atamifuji. So this one is clear B tier from the community. So we're going to throw that in place. Community says he's going to win. Now, so the floor is yours now. Where do you have him and what is your logic?
I put him at C-, even though I've kind of argued against that. You know what it is? It's because I feel that there's just a chasm of difference between Komusubi and Sekiwake as far as like the difficulty of actually stacking up wins. I think that's kind of my logic, because if you do if you do look at some guys that sort of reach Sekiwake but never really climb higher, then there is kind of a trend of them simply being completely out of their depth there. Guys like Tamawashi, back in the Meiji era, or Oho thing, guys that are just like complete fish out of water there. Maybe I'm too harsh of a grader by putting Atamifuji at C-, but it's like he had so much momentum in what was it? Obviously in January, and then in March. But part of me also believes maybe he was taking advantage of some absences there. I mean, 3 straight winning records is absolutely nothing to sneeze out. I think that's actually the first time he's ever had 3 straight Kachikoshis since reaching top division. But yeah, I think that there's going to be a lot of it's going to feel a lot harder for him, and he'll just barely squeak out either a winning record or maybe just like a gentle losing record that will let him sort of keep his rank at Sekiwake, drop maybe half a rank, or maybe just come back down to Komusubi. But I don't know. I just think it's gonna be a little tougher for him than it was last tournament. That's all.
Fair enough. So this is a little scheduling note, Torikumi note. Like Cole saying schedule is easier at Sekiwake, isn't it? Early on in the tournament it is, because the Komusubi are put up against the rest of the Sanyaku earlier than the Sekiwake are. The Sekiwake do get some matches against the other Sanyaku in the early days, but not as many. As the tournament goes on, though, the Sekiwake and the Komusubi get about the same difficulty of opponent. So when we get into later days, the Sekiwake and the Sekiwake will have fought basically Maegashira 1 through 3 West, 4 East, whatever. Komusubi will often get different matchups, like they'll face contenders, like they'll test contenders if they're not contending themselves once they've fought like Maegashira 1 through 2 West. So they might they might get it a little bit easier in the long run by fighting further down the ranks, but that's only from a rank perspective. When that happens, they're also fighting somebody who is doing really well. So it's different but similar. I would say the difficulty is not that much different, which makes it so your observation that guys who do okay at Komusubi fall off at Sekiwake, maybe that was like an old day scheduling thing, and I just don't know exactly the details from back then. But I think it's also, if a guy is not cut out to just be a Sanyaku regular, then if he succeeds at first, then he's going to go up. But eventually he's going to fail, which means the failure will happen at Sekiwake. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see that. Like, I guess I kind of just said C minus because I really have no idea how he's going to react to like actual expectations on him now. Like, he's Sekiwake, like he's at the highest rank you can physically get, without having to reach like, certain win milestones over the course of tournaments. And, I just wonder if he's ready for that kind of pressure because, in the past he's kind of struggled in high pressure positions, and I wonder if this is going to be like, just a temporary ceiling or something like that. So maybe I'll change it up a bit. I guess with the benefit of that, I guess I'm willing to bump him up to a B.
But does your brother agree?
Oh, he'll agree. He's heard my
he does
my
what I
logic.
say.
Yeah. Well, no, he is in control of the editing side. So if he disagrees, then he'll edit out my reasoning in post. But I can see him anywhere from like C plus to B. Like, yeah, I think B is appropriate for him right now, just in terms of his form. Because I mean, he had 9 last time, 12 that before, 8 that before. Yeah. So I think he's in like the Kotozakura range right now, just in terms of what he's been doing. Plus, he doesn't have to fight Yoshinofuji, so he gets to fight someone that's slightly lower on the Banzuke than a normal Sekiwake would have to fight. So, yeah, why not? I'll change it up.
All right, so we've made an official move all the way from C minus to B for Atamifuji. Awesome. That is a first time that's happened on the cast, on the stream. Fabulous. We love first time things. Also, the guys that he gets to drop down and fight because he doesn't have to fight Yoshinofuji are going to be like Daisho or Wakamoto-haru, who are hurt, or Gonoyama, who is just less of a bowling ball. So that's a good point. That I hadn't thought about that as explicitly, but that should work out nicely for him. I mean, right.
Listen, like getting to avoid Yoshinofuji in favor of like anybody lower on the Banzuke is like is pretty much a positive for almost anyone, given how good he's gotten in such a short time.
How shockingly up to his potential he's started to fight.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next,
Oh boy.
Kotoshoho. This could be a lot of discussion or not a whole lot. Okay, so Kotoshoho is C- for the community because C- is way ahead of the other two. So we're going to go C- for the community. I have him at D. I don't think he's getting 8 wins.
I also have him at D. Like I don't see a path for him. Like it's like the jump that he got, I understand why he got it. He deserved it. There was nobody else to fill it unless you want to argue that Takayasu should have held rank. But oh wait, no, he wasn't he was a
Yeah, he was.
Komusubi. But no, like for him to go from a career high of Maegashira 3 all the way up to Sekiwake, I mean, he's gonna get Ohod or Oshoma'd. Like it's gonna be
Yeah.
it's probably going to be rough because he always does his best when he gets a pure liquid diet, like having to fight no, Sanyaku for the entire time. And what do you know? His 2 best tournaments of the past year, I think he fought like a combined 4 Sanyaku. Yeah, like he'll probably get some wins. Like I'm sure he's capable of 6, but like it most of those are not going to come from the guys he's going to fight on week 2. So, yeah, that's a D. I don't feel much need to argue to justify that.
When he won the U show, the next tournament he was at 5 East. What? He was at 5. And I was like, I believe in him. Like that was not somebody luck boxing his way to a U show. He fought really well the whole way through. But I wasn't as aware of his ankle issues. So when he collapsed the next time, I was like, what the hell, dude? So now I realize we are just crapshooting how his leg is going to be, how his ankle is going to be. If it's on point, he can do what he did last time. If you could guarantee me his ankle would be healthy, I'd make him B tier. Because I think he's never
had a winning record above Maegashira 5 West.
Well, what I think is more relevant though is that he's never had two double-digit winning records in a row. And even at lower ranks. And that, to me, speaks to a health issue. Or speaks to the known health issue coming up and biting him. And that's more why I'm a little hesitant. Because if he was ever going to do a little bit of work in the Sanyaku, now would be the time with all the injuries floating around. But if he himself is like, oh crap, I'm only at 50% mobility, he's dead.
Yeah, that's another good way, maybe a better way of looking at it. It's just for me, like I'll probably be more shocked if he gets a winning record than like any of the other guys that I have doubts about right now.
Also, I deeply appreciate anyone who is running short on sleep to be here, but like if you need to sleep, please sleep. Like don't mess up the rest of your day for this. Like the live stream will be here later. You can come watch it. It's fine. I want you to take care of yourselves. But all right, we're going to move on to the Komusubi. Number 1 Komusubi, Wakatakakage. So this is C+ versus C-. I think we can have a vote about this. That should be fair enough. Wakatakakage. And it says something about how obvious his elbow issues are that B tier isn't even on the radar, really. Like, we all know he's messed up. It's just a question of how badly. Now, I put him... All right, the poll is up. Place your votes. Now, I put him at C- because I don't think he's going to fight, or I don't think he's going to make it the whole way through. But if he does, after how clearly hurt he was, and the report on his injury after, I forget who he fought, but his day 13 fight, it's like, this dude is going to be... Like, his elbow was obviously a little bit of an issue, but he still did okay. Not this time. He's either not fighting or he's going to struggle. Where do you have him?
So this is, I think, another case where I was not I either was not aware of the injury issue or I forgot that he couldn't finish the last tournament. I listed him as a B, but that was I think before you reminded me that he's been dealing with an elbow thing. Um I think I'm willing to bump him down to C plus because, well, I do think that a Kachikoshi is very possible. Part of me believes that even with a little bit of elbow issue, that he is capable of beating a bunch of guys, certainly below him, and even one or two above him, which might be enough for him to just narrowly stave off getting relegated after one. But yeah, for me, I feel good about a C plus for Wakatakakage.
Imizumi, Imizumi, I'm not gonna try again. I'm gonna fuck up your name more times the more times I try to say it. Didn't he tear his biceps? What I recall is that he tore one of the tendons and a ligament around his elbow. I don't know if they were attached to the biceps or the triceps, but it was not a bicep muscle tear, as far as I'm aware, which is actually worse because a muscle tear will heal more easily than a tendon or a ligament. Onosato a 10 plus wins. No, so he hasn't fully healed. These placements are based on what we think will happen if the wrestlers do go for 15 days. This is not like the whole thing gets a little bit weird if we start guessing, well, I think he's only going to fight for 5, so I'm going to put him at F tier, right? Like that just gets very wonky. Then we're not basing our guesses on how good we think the wrestlers are. We're basing them on how injured we think the wrestlers are. And that is less fun. There are games you can play if you want to do that, but I want to keep this nice and casual. So that's why we've got Onosato high up. I don't think any of us are really expecting him to fight 15 days. So it's going to end up being an irrelevant pick in that case. As for Wakatakakage, yeah, I could see him gritting through all 15 days, and I understand why you put him at C+, which the community is putting him at C-, which not that much of a surprise with the live chat. I guess the way I look at it is I would be more inclined to at least consider C+ if he wasn't a Komusubi. But Komusubi schedules stay harder. I'm going to rephrase this. Komusubi schedules stay more difficult for a longer period of time than even the highest Maegashira schedules. And that, I think, is what's going to cost him an extra win or two. Okay, I successfully avoided saying he's going to have a harder, longer schedule. Yes.
Well done.
All right. The final Komusubi. The Papa Bear. Takayasu. Oh, C+. Yes. We don't get a lot of majorities on this poll with all the answers possible, but Takayasu, a straight up C+ pick from the community. I have him at C+. How about you guys?
Well, I have him at C-, just because, I think he's shown that he is. It's a lot easier for him to get 6 wins than 10 wins, or sorry, than 9 or 10 wins these days.
Yeah, I could see that. I can see that. It's just so my logic is purely this. When he does his Oshi, when he does his Supari fighting, which he didn't really do, and I didn't take that into account as much, he did that less in March. He was more grapple happy in March, and then he just got hurt. It's like, but when he was doing a lot of Supari, when he was just bashing dudes, he wouldn't win as much, but he can consistently get at least 7 or 8 wins, and he wasn't getting hurt. And I would like to see him go back to that. That would be really nice. And I think he's got a better chance of kind of escalating that to maybe a 9th win if he stays healthy. But if he goes back to the grappling, like if I knew he was going to try and grapple every fight, I would be more likely to go with you on the C-, because I would think he's a lot more likely to hurt himself. That's pretty much the difference for me.
I mean, he, credit to him. This is his longest stretch of tournaments without pulling out once for a match since I think the mid to late 2010s. So
yeah,
it's nice to see that he is healthy enough to keep fighting, but there's different kinds of health in sumo, and while fashionably being like 6-6-3 is different from 6-9, like functionally it can be the same. So it just seems that like the longer he's in a tournament, the more the losses stack, in like the second week, which actually, looking at like the past year and a half worth of tournaments, is really where like most of his losses seem to happen, in like the final, the home stretch, so to speak.
Well, and when he's Sekiwake, which he hasn't been every time, obviously, but like he started in March. In fact, let's put this on the screen. So he started March 5-0, and it's not like the opponents were easy, although Wakamoto was hurt, obviously. Then he lost to Wakatakakage, beat Daisho. Fine. Then the schedule upgrades in a way, because he's going to get more Sekiwake, or more Sanyaku, but also a little bit lower in the Maegashira ranks. Losing to Kirishima, losing to Onishki, losing to Hoshoryu, none of that a surprise. But he got up from that long-ass Kirishima fight, and he was not okay. And then everybody else started blasting him. And that just happens sometimes, because if you go back to, I'm going to find another one, because I remember this one. This is July 2023. Started 5-0, got hurt, and just tanked. And it was like, how is he still fighting? Nothing's working. How is this happening? Right? And this happens sometimes. This will happen. He will continue to fight, even though he is definitely not okay. And you just don't know when that's going to happen. So this is sort of a fingers crossed situation, as far as I'm concerned. But he's been better about keeping his health, so I'm going to trust him. And that's really, I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, you probably take this point, honestly.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with where I ranked him, and I think I mean, really, like, it's not a gigantic difference between C- and C+. So I think we're pretty good on Takayasu.
Yeah. Real quick, let's see who said this. Oh yeah, status. I feel like Papa gets forced into clinches more than he chooses them. That can happen for sure. But I realized this when I was going through matches, like setting up the tier list. Takayasu opted into the clinches most of the time. So if he came out with his hands, if he like came off the tache with his hands out, and then the other guy gets inside, that's getting forced into a clinch. But he came in a lot of times with his arms low, protecting his chest, which is opting into the grapple. That was much more common. So yeah, he there was not so much slappies from Papa Bear. He was choosing to fight in the grapple. And it worked until it didn't. I think he was feeling good, and then all of a sudden he was feeling real bad. So we'll see what he does next time. On to the rank and file. And
oh boy, here's where things are going to get tough. Like, I've got a lot of just like wishy-washy picks over here, so I'm already dreading this section.
I am all right. So Fujinokawa, 36.4% C-. The next one is 24.3, and that's D. So he's a C- pick from the community, and that is very friendly. Like, it just is, and that's fine. That's fine. Y'all can do what you do. Although you should buy more Fujinokawa merchandise at sumospiffy.com. It's really good. Like, the art is so good on that one. You should fucking... Anyway, where do you have him? Because I
also have him
at
C-.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I have no way to figure him out. Like, yeah, he got his Kachikoshi on the final 2 days, but like 4-4 against all pretty much all the Sanyaku guys that he's gonna be fighting again. Yeah, I don't really know how to I don't really know, where to like where his ceiling is or what his floor is. Has he had a losing record in? Yes, he has. He's this is his 6th tournament in as a Maegashira, and he's had winning records in 4 of his 5. So, anything's possible. It's just we just know it's going to be harder.
Look at this adorable art, everybody. How can you not love this cat? How can you not just want to adopt this cat? All right, I'm done shilling. Okay.
You say Meowmy stable?
Oh, let me bring that back up. So normally we just play games with the name, like the wrestler name, and then like Onosato was Onyasato because cat, Japan, right? Let me find it again. But for this one, because I loved the workout picture so much, I realized because he trains with Izenoumi stable. So we could just change that and make it more cat with Izenyaumi stable. You know what I mean?
Aww.
It's just like English speaker Japanese puns. We're totally out of line and I don't care. I love this name. So I can understand having a little bit of faith. I understand being like, I don't even know how the hell he's doing this. But I can tell you how he's doing this. He's doing this because he's cheating. He's doing this because he is springing off the line as early as he possibly can. I think he is way ahead of the curve compared to everybody else except maybe Yoshinofuji in terms of understanding that as long as his opponent makes a downward move, he can come off the line and it's not getting called. And in the video I made about the first video about the false starts, I didn't specify this, but there was, so I picked out 8, what I saw as the 8 most significant false starts that weren't called in the tournament. He had 3 of them and he won 2. And as a group, those guys were 3 and 5. So he won 2, Yoshinofuji won 1, and nobody else won at all. So he actually puts that strategy to work. He might be the only guy who's practiced that. And does that matter? Absolutely. But if they start calling it tighter, he's screwed. If guys figure out that they're not going to get protected, they'll find a way around him, and he's screwed. And then you add in the neck injury. I had him D tier, which is really not that much different from C-. It's just kind of like Kotoshoho. I don't see how he's going to get 8 wins. I think his 8 wins last time were a miracle. But then if he's hurt, and I mean a neck hernia is not a joke, that's why I put him down at F. If he's actually feeling a lot better, if the physio does the work and he actually looks totally healthy, he might make me look like an idiot and at least get 7 wins. But yeah, nothing seems like it should come together for him at this point.
Yep, I agree.
All right. Also, yeah, that's a good point. He got lucky with Onosato. Like, even if Onosato was fighting with one arm, I think he's just going to pick up Fuji by his hair and yeet him out of the ring, which is illegal, and Fuji will still get the win, but he's not going to feel very good. All right, One West, Wakanosho. He keeps getting to these levels, and it's like, how do you do this? Because once you get here, you get absolutely dumpstered. Like, what?
It's a simple case of him being like the only guy that consistently performs well on the mid card, and that all like they'll always over promote someone when they've got to demote a whole bunch of other people. So he just keeps flying back up and keeps getting smacked down. He's an F for me. Like, get him off the screen.
Ooh, okay.
I don't see a path to 7 wins for Wakanosho.
That's very fair.
He always gets dumpstered when he is up at this level, and I don't see there being a change this time around.
Me neither. It's just the only reason I have him in D tier rather than in F is because I mentioned this at some point. I think I mentioned it in the tier list. One thing I noticed doing this false start stuff is the false starts do seem to help a little bit, even if the guys don't always win or don't even win 50%. They're doing it against stronger opponents. But if they do it to him, he just bashes them in the face with his face and they go backwards. And so the more prevalent this becomes, and I don't think it's going to become way more prevalent, but maybe a little bit, I think he is actually less affected than a lot of guys. So this came down to, do I think he's more likely to get 7 wins or 4 wins? And going off of history, I should say 4. Because if we look, I know, hang on, I'm going to get the pen out. This is going to be fun. I can draw on the screen.
Yay, drawing on the screen.
And so I think I got to shrink this a little. I have to shrink this just to get everything on the screen. That's how ridiculous this is. So if we look at the times that he's been in the Joy, and I'm like stretching here, because 4 West was technically the Joy, let's say 3 and up, because that's really what matters, because that's when you're actually fighting the Sanyaku early days, and you don't get a chance to get on the roll.
It's going to be worse for Wakanosho, because I looked at what Yoshinofuji had to do last tournament. He had to fight, just in the first week, both Yokozuna, both Ozeki, I believe both Sekiwake and a Komusubi in the first week. Like, do you honestly think Wakanosho, of all people, is going to be able to, get like more than a win or 2 from that group? Because that's also going to be the healthiest that any of them are for probably the entire tournament when he finally has to fight them.
That is true. And I'm not expecting him to get a lot of wins there. And in fact, he might just go like 0-for. But if he can get a couple, I think he can pick up a bunch of wins late. Not enough to get a winning record, but enough to, salvage his pride. So I just circled the last time he had a winning record at Maegashira 3 or above. Or no, here it is. This 11-4. So back in 2021, he was 8-7 at 2 East, then 7-8 at 1 West, and then 11-4 at 2 West. And ever since then, 7-8, 4-11. Again, 4 West doesn't get, and just to show what I'm talking about, why I'm not including that, his schedule started out 5 East, and then Lower Sanyaku, and then Maegashira, and he didn't even start that well, but he didn't get up against the big boys quite as quickly, and that is important. Because for him, if he gets on a roll, that is a huge deal. So then, whoops, come on now. All right. So then 1 West, he got hurt, right? And then he's in the mid ranks for a while. 4 East, again, not there, but still 6-9. 3 West, 5-10. 1 East, 4-11. 1 East, 6-9. 3-12. Komusubi, 5-10. 3 East, 5-10. Like, he hasn't had more than 6 wins at these ranks since January 2022. Like, the F tier genuinely is the most logical pick. I am trying to get away from going off of history as much as I used to, because that has led me wrong a little bit recently, so I just don't wanna. But yeah, like I think if you're gonna go pure logic, F tier is a really good pick. I'm just not. So community C minus, who, if he goes 8 wins and y'all get the point away from both of us, you're geniuses. That's just the truth.
That'd be stunning.
All right, 2 East, Yoshinofuji. This is a clear C plus pick. And I'll be honest, I think that's a little positive. I have him at C minus. How about you guys at the podcast?
I think we're both at C plus. I think he kind of hit maybe just a soft ceiling with his first losing record last tournament. But I do think that, there's still a possibility that he can climb back up, especially if, maybe some of the injuries do allow him to avoid some of the, the tougher guys early on. But, we'll see. I do think, though, that he is, that like 7 wins feels like it might be the floor on like what he's capable of losing right now, because he's just so skilled for somebody with so few tournaments, not just in top division, but in general. So yeah, I feel that like, C plus is right there for him, because it puts in that number 7, but also opens the door for doing a lot better.
That's fair. I think he should be a 7-win floor guy, given his ability, but I think he's still figuring some things out. And if you look at the last tournament, we should probably pump that back up again. He lost, I don't know how the hell he lost to Abi, but if Onosato's not there, so he'll get Onosato early if Onosato was in the tournament, and that's going to be good for him. But if Onosato's not, that's actually not good, because he's really good against him. Onishki, he does really well against, so Onishki being hurt isn't really a benefit. That's just a win he tends to get. And then the fact that he took this schedule and still only went 7-8 was like, it's not that I don't think he can succeed. It's that I'm not sure how he gets to 9 wins. I think he is a 7 to 8 win guy. I think he is very much in that middle ground. And I just think he is in a spot where he's still solving some riddles. And I have seen enough from Izagahama guys that I think sometimes they will try stuff when they're good enough to just succeed. They don't necessarily stress out over getting every single win during the learning process. They will do different things to try and get some wins, or to try to figure out how they can get wins later, like in other tournaments. I don't know that he's going to experiment this time, but that small possibility made me lean a little bit more towards him slipping a little bit too. But I think either somewhere in the C range makes sense, because he's just going to finish 7-8 or 8-7. That just seems like a given. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he should have been promoted back after he went 8-7 in January. Like, I know that they couldn't open up a spot. There wasn't room for him to move, but he probably should have honestly already been a Komusubi, by now, and just been back at Maegashira 1 rather than all the way at Maegashira 2. But that's a topic that I think you already broached on one of your last Bonsuke videos. So
yeah, maybe the one where I was speed talking. All right,
exactly.
So 2 West, Ichiyamamoto is next, and at that point we've been going for long enough. We'll take a quick break at that point.
All right.
So Ichiyamamoto, because we want to finish on a positive note, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to set up a poll, and it's actually, this one's going to run 3 choices deep. Is Ichiyamamoto, let's spell it correctly, is he C plus, C. I am offering no opinions on that choice. C minus, or is he D tier? The poll is up. Please place your votes. And while we wait for that, Cyberstag, give us the podcast pick.
We have him at F. Like, this seems to be an area where guys that are over promoted tend to get, and for the first time, tend to get really like badly knocked down to size unless they are just absolutely surging. Ichi is not surging. I just think that it's very hard to predict where almost any of the wins in week 1 are going to come from, since he's got basically the entire Sanyaku, most of whom he either has never beaten or beats very infrequently. So yeah, I think that any wins he does get are almost all going to come in the second week.
I am perfectly happy not having a camera on, but just for a moment there, I sort of wish I did, just so everybody could see me going, like, how hard I was nodding when you said, I don't know where the wins are supposed to come from during the first week. Because, my God, the truth of that, where in the world is he supposed to get any wins from in that initial group? Like, and his head-to-heads aren't even that terrible. So, like, if we look at him, right off the top, he's going to fight Hoshoryu. So these head-to-heads are for the last year. Thank you once again to Chiyo Tsuke for making this stuff, because it's so good. He's got a couple wins against Kotoshoho in the tournaments where Kotoshoho is not healthy. So I guess we'll see what happens there. He beat Kotozakura once in January. Okay. So even over the last year, a lot of these are not great records. But then you go lifetime, and there's surprisingly a lot of 50-50s. But like Hoshoryu, his wins two of them were in 2019. And then there was one last year. His wins against Kotozakura were, well, actually, he's done okay against Kotozakura recently. Kirishima, those were all in 2018 and 2019. So, yeah, where the hell is he supposed to get these wins from? I have no clue. And the idea that he's going to break 6 wins here Wakanosho is stubborn enough for me to think maybe he can get to 7. Ichiyamamoto, I don't see it at all. I just don't know how that's going to happen. Whoops. All right. So now that I finally remembered that the little avatar exists and I put him on the screen, let's take a quick break. I think it's been an hour, almost an hour and 20 minutes. I'm going to get some water. I'm going to run a little ad thing. We'll be back in 3 minutes. I don't know how you would turn me into a cat. That... So I let the poll run. I forgot that. And it's still and it is super close. Like, the vote can still be swung.
On Churanoumi?
No, on Ichiyamamoto. I forgot to do the community one. I forgot to finish that up.
Ah.
Okay. All right. It looks like we're going C- for Ichiyamamoto. Bless your optimistic hearts. The fact that community has no
impressive.
D or F so far is a little surprising. Community last time showed a willingness to drop guys into those losing brackets. I'm sure we'll get there with somebody. Maybe Shishi. I don't know.
The thing is that Abansuke is kind of meant to indicate where a wrestler like belongs in terms of their ability to get wins and losses. So I think Abansuke will just naturally have people tending towards the possibility of 7 to 8 wins, because if they had like a whole bunch of losses higher than they were, then they should get more wins now that they're lower. And if they got a whole bunch of wins somewhere down low, they should get fewer once they get higher. So like these things I think are kind of meant to keep, to keep people guessing between like 7 to 8 wins. The more I think about it.
That's totally fair. And humans are just kind of wired to go with averages when we're not really sure. It just, when you said that, it reminded me of Churanoumi going like 11-4, 4-11, 11-4, 4-11, 4-11, 11-4. And like, that is the yo-yo with the longest string in the world.
Yeah, that is. He does have a lot of 4 and 11s, which is quite amusing. He seemed to be on the climb back in 2024, but I think once people started taking him seriously, that kind of stopped.
Well, we'll get to him. He's coming up soon enough. And we'll talk, because I got things to say about Churanoumi. But for now, we move on to Maegashira 3. Churanoumi. I forget who it was last time who said the Umis are boring. That was just a great line, and I loved that. But Churanoumi in this case, the community is a crystal clear C- on him. And I can understand that. I had him D tier, but then I bumped him up to C- at the end of the tier list because I was like, I think I'm skewing a little too negative overall. How do you guys have him rated?
We both agreed that C- is right for him. He had his moment a while ago, but I think it's kind of, that's over, and he'll probably just be a decent joy wrestler for a good long while, and who knows after that. So yeah, C- is right for him.
Yeah, he seems like his head is so hard that if he hits guys with it often enough, maybe he can do that enough for 8 wins. And that's about it. That's like the top end. I think he feels like a known quantity at this point and at this level. I will reiterate though what I mentioned on the tier list, that the scheduling could make a pretty big difference, especially if you think him getting on a roll matters. Now, last time he started 4-1 and still tanked, so I don't think it really does. But they scheduled so differently last time, where they gave him a lot easier fights at the start than he would normally get, that like if he ends up fighting Sanyaku as usual at the start this time, I still think that means he'll pick up wins later. So I don't think it matters, But I don't know. For anybody who thinks like getting beat up early is bad or getting on a roll early is good, it could make a difference. But we all have him at C-. We all think pretty similarly. I think we can move on to the Lord of Chaos's baby, Oho.
God,
and this is
another guy
absolutely
that
a vote.
I have absolutely no pulse. Like I picked him for Kachi Clash last tournament and that was like probably the third worst decision that I ever made in Kachi Clash.
Oh, I thought you were going to say in your life.
Just no. Thankfully not my life. I've made only slightly worse decisions than that, but I'm
was
just
up for
gonna go
Oho?
C plus. I'm just gonna go C plus for Oho because I've got no read on him anymore. You know, it feels like at any given moment, no matter where he is on the Banzuke, he could go 5-10, 7-8,
Yeah.
12-3, whatever. He truly is. He has like all of the best and worst qualities of both Abi and Shodai in terms of unpredictability in and out of the ring.
Pretty much concur. I had him at C-, and then again, I bumped him to C+ because I was skewing a little negative on the tier list. And he has 4, 7, and 8s in the last year. And it's like, no matter, sort of like what you said about how Kotozakura is like the best wrestler when he has 7 wins because he's going to get the 8th one. Oho just pops off as soon as it doesn't matter anymore. Yep. And like, he could go 10-5 or 11-4. That's always possible, but you can't count on it. So what can we count on? It's probably going to get 7 wins. And if things swing a little bit nicely, he might get to 8. But it feels like he's just too strong to end up at 6 unless things go really badly. So I'm like, I guess he's the guy I move up if I'm going to move up anyone. There we go.
It is kind of crazy how his first 2 tournaments at Sanyaku all came before his first tournament at Komusubi. Sorry, his first 2 tournaments at Sanyaku came at Sekiwake before his first as a Komusubi.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was. It might have been Cole. Was like, congratulations on Oho for making Komusubi when he got demoted there. As like, that was that was the perfect thing to say about Oho. It would sound mean if it was anyone else.
No, it always feels that like every negative for him is somehow a positive, and every positive for him is somehow a negative. It's quite weird.
And Muku Junko, Oho is one of those guys who's there to spoil everyone else's records, not improve his own. I couldn't say it better.
Yep.
Like, he is... I don't call him the Lord of Chaos's baby just because we don't know what's happening. Shodai famously shows up for real when it's a big fight. And Oho seems to do the same thing. Like, the better the opponent, like, he could just be a trash bag against a bunch of dudes he should beat, and then he fights somebody good, and it's like, well, obviously he's going to get his ass kicked. And then he just wins because he tried. Like, oh, I hate you so much. Oh, God, I hate you so much. You frustrating bastard. The poll is 50-50.
Yeah, like, truly, he is so chaotic that there is no way to even come to a consensus on what he'll be like in a given tournament. It's absurd.
Okay. Is anyone else voting? Because this is literally a 1 vote difference at this point.
Yes, you have the power.
Jeez, it's flipping so hard now. Oh, C- just took over. I think some people who weren't worried about it looked at it and were like, oh no, we cannot let this injustice of C+ stand.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, C- took over.
All right, well, there you have it.
C- it is for Oho. And that is Totally fair. If he goes 6-9, I mean, congratulations, community. You got that one. And I'm going to feel dumb for changing him. All right. 4 East. Daisho. The man, the myth, the calf injury.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I kind of changed my logic for my approach to picking him. Like I did go B, which sounds kind of absurd given how slowly he's been returning to form after that calf injury, but my logic to that was in every like sector, like whether it's the joy or like the lower single digits or the double digits, like someone always winds up with a winning record of like 8 to 10 wins. I looked at like the rest of the group and I said like who feels most likely to emerge with that double digit win potential. And after immediately discarding Oho, I felt like I had to settle on Daisho, injured leg and all, because while he is clearly, still hurt and not able to generate the power that he once could, it feels like his potential is higher than anybody else down here. It also certainly helps that he's probably not going to have to fight the toughest guys as quickly as a bunch of the other guys right above him. So he'll get a chance to stack a couple of wins. Then he'll probably get into trouble, but then, the end of the second week, he'll maybe be able to, finish the job with a Kachikoshi, maybe even 10 wins and a fighting spirit prize. What do you think?
Well, I don't think 10 wins is going to get him fighting spirit because he's been around for too long. Also, Yuria, I have no idea what kind of cat, so just pick one. Hang on. What?
Don't choose a kind of
I
cat.
just answered you on the stream.
I know.
We're arguing in real life about the thing I just talked about on the stream. I don't know what's happening anymore.
I will make you a pink and frilly cat.
Why is
Tell
it
me
going?
what kind of cat?
I don't know cats. You have to pick the cat. I don't understand cat.
I'm assigning your persona right now.
I do not. If you call it a persona, you better not make one. Oh, God. All right. I don't. Just do what you're going to do. Well, that was a thing. Anyway, I think I put Daisho at C-. And by the way, the poll's up for Daisho. Vote, vote, vote. I completely agree with you that he has the most potential, but I have been waiting for that potential to reemerge, and it just won't. What really turned me against him on this tier list, and I say that like I think he's going to do terribly, I don't, but that loss to Shodai, who he normally crushes, was so lackluster on day 15 that what it suggested to me is that his injury is serious enough that it doesn't simply slow him down. It actively gets worse over the course of the tournament. That's a problem. Like, that is a significant issue. And the fact that it's been going on now for, I believe, at least 6 months, I am now at the point where I need to see him get through it successfully before I am going to have faith he'll get through it successfully. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get it. I guess this is just sort of me saying, this will be the one where he finally gets it. And, maybe I'll be proven wrong, but, if I'm wrong about him, then it means that I'm probably wrong about someone else that we've been guessing on in the Joy too. So I can live with it.
Fair enough. Community has Daisho at C+. So we've got a little bit of a scatter plot here. Yeah, I think what it comes down to for me is like, could I see him getting 9 wins, not given what we've seen recently? I just have a more difficult time seeing that than him slipping, especially with guys like, he should beat Gonoyama without too much of a problem. And yet, the way Gonoyama was looking last time, if Daisho is not that mobile, that could be a problem. And speaking of Gonoyama.
Yes.
Oh, this is
Mis-
very split. So,
Mr. 1 in 14 himself.
we've got Gonoyama with 3 very equal options voted on. We've got C+, ooh, not a ton of hope here. C-, and D tier. Almost equal. So, the Gonoyama poll is up. Go ahead and vote. Stag, what do you got?
I've got him at D.
'Kay.
He just always seems to get bodied when he's in this area. I believe he's capable of beating a couple of the guys up in the Sanyaku, but not enough of them. Like, he's probably like the only way I can really see him getting a winning record here, which I believe would be an extreme rarity for him in this area, would be if he just kind of if some of the guys that he fights are just as injured as we think they are. Other than that, I don't really have much faith in him doing anything noteworthy this tournament.
Very reasonable. I have him at C- for the simple reason that at his rank, at that exact rank, we don't know yet what his schedule is going to look like. I am assuming Onosato and or Wakatakakage are going to be out. And if they don't start out, they're going to leave partway through. Wakatakakage less likely than Onosato, but still.
So the good thing about 4 West is that simply being at 4 West means he usually doesn't go up against the Sanyaku in the first week.
Precisely.
So there is a pretty decent chance that he can stack a couple of wins, maybe start 4 and 3, maybe even 5 and 2, and then by the second week you might have Onosato and Onishki pulling out, Takayasu wearing down, and being able to avoid or just get them when they're in a weakened state, so that might be the path to like 8 or 9 wins, but there's a lot of assuming there, and that's just making an ass of you and me.
Right. But there's also the little scheduling quirk that if I'm wrong about Onosato and Waka and they stay in, Gonoyama actually gets fewer Sanyaku matches overall. And there's an off chance he might not get any. So the schedule is actually kind of favorable to him in that way. The only problem is he's still going to fight up in rank against Maegashira guys, and he still is terrible against most of them above him. So I still don't think it's going to go well. But at Maegashira 4 West, if he struggles, he's going to get dumped down in rank for a lot of matchups, or he should, and that should get him to like 6 wins. I don't think it's going to be a complete disaster, but I don't think it's going to be great. As for the community, ooh, D tier has taken over. Yep, that's looking like a D tier for Gonoyama. So, this is the one. Not Fujinokawa, not Ichiyamamoto, but Gonoyama is D tier for the community. It's fair.
There's enough evidence to support it.
It is. There is. 5 East, Wakamoto-haru. Even more than Daisho, a skill versus injury question.
This is another case where, like, we have him at C-, but we can totally understand all of the arguments for, C-, D, or even F, just due to the injuries. And it feels like he is aging his way out of, like, the joy faster than a lot of other guys his age.
So you said C-?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I said C+.
C+. Okay. Which is also where I have him. I think he is still good enough to get something done. But if Daisho had never had the calf injury or had a different injury, I would probably be more hopeful about Waka. But, and it's not like their injuries are necessarily identical. But for Daisho to take this long returning from a calf injury, and Wakamoto having had so many issues just resisting any kind of forward pressure in March, it's like he's still good enough that down here where he really shouldn't get Sanyaku matches, or very few if any, he should be able to get work done. So I'm still leaning positive, but he should be like an 8, 9, 10 win guy at reasonably good health. But there's no way to expect that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's just it's too hard to predict how he'll do given, the state of things with him. So I would not be surprised if he gets, 6, 8, or 9 wins. I guess 5 is possible. 10 might be a mini miracle. Certainly if things shake up well for him in the first week. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, actually, if he has a good first week, I think 10 becomes less likely because he'll get more higher ranked matchups. If he does the first week and then gets to just feast on the lower ranks during week 2, that's probably his most likely route to 10 wins. But that's just such a fine path that you need to thread to get there that, yeah, C+ just seems safe. And it looks like the community agrees. Hooray! We are all on the same page. We love that. We love that for us. That's not correct. That's correct. Okay, next one. Why are we down at freaking Ryuden? Shodai. Okay, the actual Lord of Chaos. A very clear C- from the community.
I went with I understand the C- because everyone believes like day 15 he'll probably be fighting for his life, but I went with D. I think that I think it's simply just as likely that he wins wins 5 or fewer than he wins 8 or more. It just feel like there's no way to predict it. He was at Maegashira 8 East, went 1-7, Maegashira 8 West 1-8. Like he's a Maegashira 8 guy right now, and he's a little bit higher than he probably should be given some of his recent form. So I expect that he'll be cut down to size.
Yeah, I just have a hard time putting him anywhere. When he's outside of the Joy, I have a hard time putting him anywhere that doesn't account for a winning and a losing record being possible. Like,
here's another thing. I know, how I said that Kirishima backed into a championship last time. Shodai literally backed his way into Akachi Koshi because he had 2 Fusen wins in March.
Yeah.
Against guys that are kind of more skilled than he is at this point, but just unreliable health-wise in Hakunofuji and Onokatsu. So it's not like he really probably is closer to Maegashira 9 than Maegashira 5 just in terms of his fighting ability right now, which is why I think it's even more likely that that a winning record's out of his reach.
Yeah, that's reasonable. I overlooked the fact that this was his first quote-unquote win against Onokatsu, but Onokatsu has been so bad. Like, even before he got hurt, he was just a mess. I don't know how he was still beating Shodai of all people, but whatever. His head-to-heads... Actually, I looked over his head-to-heads and they're not terrible where he is, which is another reason I went with C-. But yeah, like, I don't I think 8's going to be a minor miracle, but that's what he does. That's what he does. He does minor miracles. They could swing either way. Miracles good for him or bad for him, but he does them.
Sure, he's that's why he's the Lord of Chaos.
Exactly.
With him, all things are possible.
Lord of Chaos sort of rhymes with C-. That's all the logic I needed.
Fair enough.
All right, 6 East, Churanoumi. And I think that's just C+. I know it's like less than a 10% gap, but that still is almost half of the votes. I think Churanoumi at C+ is actually what we're looking at here for the community. I had him at C+ as well. How about you?
We have him at C-. I think just because I guess of recent form. Yeah, maybe I should have gone C+ because he has had 9 wins in 3 of his last 5, but I don't know, something about the way he just got like literally, Randy Orton punted in the head while he was at Maegashira 2 makes me think that the ceiling's going to be a little bit lower for him this time, even though Maegashira 6 is probably right around like the perfect spot he belongs at this point in his career. Wow, he's 32, so he is only a couple months older than Wakamoto and Daisho. That surprises me a bit. I thought he was a couple years younger than that. Yeah, I think C- is fine for him. He had his moment back in 2024 and reached his ceiling there maybe.
He's 32 and he's still getting better, and that's what I find remarkable. Like he is not necessarily improving a lot physically, and he is at a physical disadvantage and a significant one against the better guys. But his tactical game and his willingness to employ different strategies has been just fascinating to watch. He is not falling into the trap of I'm just going to do my sumo. He is changing his game plan for the opponents, and that is awesome. I think more guys should do it. I'm sure that makes me lean a little more positively than should be the case, whatever is appropriate for him. But I think where this pick, my pick of C+, is going to fall short is if he made a point of using different tactics against the best guys, and now that he's a little further down, he decides, okay, I'm just going to go with my core strategies. Because I think he's been so good tactically that if he does that, it's going to make him more vulnerable than he needs to be. But I've already made the mistake with other guys that I'm like, all right, well, I don't know if they're going to keep doing what they're doing, which is stupid. If it's working, they're going to keep doing it. Why would I think otherwise? So that's why I have a little bit of faith in him. But yeah, 6 and 9, 9 and 6. He is a 6 to 9 win guy. I mean, that's exactly how it feels right now.
Yeah, so I'm cool with that.
6 West, Fujiseun. All right, this one probably needs a vote between, once again, C+ and C-. Tell us your thoughts on this Fuji.
I don't have that many simply because my viewing sample size is just so small. Like I don't watch Juryo as much as I should, so I didn't really watch his climb that much. But 10 and 5 anywhere in top division is worth being applauded for, and he certainly put in the work. That being said, he went. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. 2 and 2 against guys that were above Maegashira 10. And I believe he went 1 and 2 against. Oh no, I'm sorry. It was 1 and 2 against guys above Maegashira 10. And now he's all the way at Maegashira 6 West, so he's higher ranked than almost anybody he fought in his debut. I think he's going to, maybe hit a bit of a ceiling here. So we went with C+ here, just to kind of account for him needing to recalibrate for a higher class of opposition, so to speak.
I do appreciate that he's in his second Makuuchi Basho. He's all the way up in Maegashira 6, and you're making him, you're putting him odds on to have another winning record because you're saying he's going to hit a ceiling. Like, this is actually a pretty positive pick when you consider where he was 4 months ago. But I agree with it.
It's just, I mean, he showed so much skill. Also, I think I just realized, is he ranked higher in his second Basho in top division than Onishki was? I need to double check that.
Yeah. He definitely
that
is.
That would be crazy. Oh yeah. Wow, 3 ranks higher than Onishki was. Wow, he is. I'm strongly reconsidering maybe C minus instead. Maybe even D. Man, I have no pulse on this guy because I need to like see what his weaknesses are. So that's kind of why I'm in like the 7 to 8 spectrum, like 7 with 7 and 8, 8 and 7, because I just don't know what his ceiling even looks like yet. So I feel like I can't make a strong pick one way or another. So it feels a little wishy-washy.
Hello, whoa. I get what you're saying. So his grappling, I underestimated him last time. His grappling carried him more than I expected it to. I expected a little bit more of a struggle because a lot of these guys, I mean, Fujiseun is not young, but a lot of these guys have been fighting in the top division. The top division is a different ball game, and they've been doing it for a long time. And I thought they would do more to stop him, and they didn't. Now, you make a good point about him having been having not done great against the higher rank guys, but that is kind of a small sample size. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost a non-existent sample size.
Right.
Like Takanosho is the only guy that he's most likely going to fight against again.
Yeah. No, he'll probably fight Oshoma. Actually, he'll probably fight all 3 of them. Takanosho might be the least likely, although it certainly could happen. But Oshoma has looked hurt, and he kind of played Fuji into that pull down win. So I think Fuji can beat him. Doesn't mean he will. I definitely think he could beat Shodai again. Like, that seems for sure. And then you look at the other guys around him, and even if, like, just on paper they seem like they should have the advantage, look at some of the injuries. Daisho, hurt. Wakamoto hurt. Shioshoma, we don't know that he's hurt, but he seems to always end up with a hernia every other basho. Oshoma's hurt. Abi's hurt. Hakunofuji's hurt. There's so many guys who are not at full capacity that's why I went C+. It's like, he is going to face a brand new set of challenges, but it shouldn't be quite as hard as normal. And so that kind of leans in his favor.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's why the ceiling feels just slightly higher than somebody who is in this spot for the first time after getting, I wouldn't say aggressively over-promoted, but maybe slightly over-promoted. I mean, like, to go from M13 to M6 on a 10 and 5 is being quite generous given how close to the joy it now puts him. But that's a discussion for, I guess, the Bansuke video.
And really, I think the Bansuke committee kind of agrees with you because they kept Churanoumi in front of him. So they pushed him back that little bit that they could, but there's really nowhere else for him to go. He had to get bumped up this far. The vote is in. Fujiseun C- from the community. Not by much, but not quite as positive as us. But that's fair enough.
Just no pulse on him,
Yeah.
Not sure if he's ready for this spot, but not confident enough to say D or F.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way he drops to 5 wins unless he gets hurt. He's just been too steady. He's what Onokatsu was like a year ago.
Yeah.
All right, 7 East, the Henka King. Shioshoma.
I don't know what it is. I dislike. I kind of just dislike the way that he's just kind of been around for as long as he has with, with how he gets to where he gets. And I'm not really explaining it very well. I just went flat out D. Like, he just always seems overmatched once he reaches single digits in Maegashira. With rare exceptions. So I went D for him, and seems like I'm right in around the range of where the community has him.
Yeah, I had him D tier as well. He did. I think a lot of people have hope in him because they saw him make that run to Maegashira 2, and that came from absolutely out of nowhere. And he actually, I think he got to 4, and then it looked like he was going to get crushed because that was a career high rank. And then he had another winning record, and he got to 2. And it was like, how the hell is he doing this? But ever since then, he's shown that he can get work done at the lowest levels when he's in danger of getting demoted to Juryo, as long as he's not hurt. But now, yeah, at a single digit rank, it's like, this is not great. And there are still a lot of injured guys around him, but they're all so much better than he is. Where do the wins come from?
He got way more. Oh, wait, no. He also got aggressively promoted as well. Like, to go from 14 on a 10-5 record, when one of those wins comes against not even like a high Juryo guy, but like Nishinoryu in jury, like that almost feels like it shouldn't even like count towards his win loss record. So yeah, and he's 0-3 against Koto-Eiho. Like, I'm sorry, but like there's levels to this thing, and he's not at like he's not a Maegashira 7 guy. Like, I believe the numbers will bear that out at the end of the month.
Yeah, it looks like the community agrees, D tier, but okay, he looks like Magikarp. All right, hang on, we got to look at this.
Yeah, no, I understand where they're coming from. He doesn't have the whiskers,
Magikarp,
but he does have sort of that incredulous look that Magikarp's had for 30 years.
All right, I'm not a Pokemon expert, so I'll take everybody's word for it. That is funny, though. All right. So Fujiseun and Chiyoshoma both got seriously overpromoted, along with one other guy, and he is up next. Asakoryu, the little muscle hamster. So we're gonna put a poll up.
Are you zoomed in well enough? I don't know if we can see him.
That was maximum zoom on Firefox.
Wow, up 5 on a 9 and 6. He's never been above Maegashira 12 up until then.
Yeah, this is a super big jump in terms of maximum rank or highest career rank.
Yeah, I have him at C-, but I almost feel that is like way too generous given how high they put him. But again, a lot like the Fujiseun argument we were making, like, he's in a spot where he can eke out some wins against some guys that are either injured or just like a lot older right now, and or just guys who are a little mistake prone, like Oshoma. So I certainly think that it's possible he gets Kachikoshi somehow, especially since he's just outside the Joy. So yeah, I think I feel comfortable with C- for Asakoryu. All
right, so you've got him at C-, and oh yeah, Chiyoshoma you had a D tier. I forgot to move him. I have him at C- as well, and I find that a little bit hopeful. However, I think he's earned it because he was struggling at the lowest parts of the division for a while, and then he just decided that he was going to put his face into everybody's chest and let them figure out what to do about it. And enough guys couldn't figure it out that he started winning. And he hasn't stopped doing that. And it hasn't been going on for that long, but it's been going on consistently enough for the last couple of bashos that I think that if you look at his like previous records in the division, and if you look at his head-to-heads, that is less relevant for him than a lot of guys, because he has simply found a more effective way to do sumo. So if we take what we saw and then give him the benefit of the doubt in marginal situations, I think that at least creates hope. So not that long ago, if he somehow got to this level, I would have automatically D-tiered him. And I think because one thing that becomes very difficult for guys going up the ranks is if they are small. Because dealing with small guys is something the top wrestlers just know how to do. But at Maegashira 7, he might not see quite enough of the top guys who can do that. So I think there's hope. I think there is a chance. The community vote is very split. Like, I think C- makes the most sense, but I know he's popular and people love seeing him succeed. So I'm sort of curious where this is going to go. We've got 32 votes. All right. I am going to step away for 30 seconds. I'm going to let the vote finish up and then we'll see where it's at. Be right back. Okay, it is still 50-50. For the love of God.
I do think that it might be skewed towards C-, just because I can tell that some people want to put him in D, but don't have it as an option.
Yeah, but even on the pie chart, D and B are very similar.
Yeah.
There's only a 2-vote difference between those. So, wow, he is... If we had a 7.5 option, that's where he would go for the community. All right, it's starting to swing C-. So we're going to call it there. C- for Asakoryu, which puts us all in agreement. I am actually sort of surprised by that. But hey,
all right.
It feels nice. 8 East, Oshoma, a little more low-key injured. I have observed him not moving well, and so I think he's injured, but there hasn't been like an official report on such. Another vote is going up for him between C- and C+. And Steg, the floor is yours.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I've got him C+. Like this is another guy that I think is kind of in his Goldilocks zone, where like this is exactly where he belongs. You know, he'll probably just like consistently get between 6 and 9 wins in this general area for a good long while until he either finds a way to significantly improve or just something happens that knocks him down for a while.
Yeah, I think I'm actually gonna double check because yeah, I have him at C- because I'm pretty sure he's hurt and he's been hurt for a couple of tournaments, but he is a C+ guy at this level. Like normally he is 100% a winning record or winning wrestler in the mid ranks. He should be expected to get a winning record here. The fact that he's not is what made me kind of pay attention to whether he was hurt, because it was like he was doing fine and then he just struggle bust the hell out of it for like a tournament and a half. And yeah, he's just moving weird. Without knowing what's going on, I can't assume that's going to go away. So I am gonna figure it'll linger and it'll affect him. Wow, that vote is going quickly, and it's quickly going bad for him. And it's only getting worse. We don't even have that many votes in, but I don't think, given the number of votes we've been getting, that this is going to catch up. That's 100% the community is C- on Oshoma. This C- community, the C- list is getting pretty long. This is wild. But we can move on. We can move on. New to Sumo's positivity is very understandable, but we disagree, and that's totally cool. Asakoryu. All right. That looks like C+ is far enough ahead that we can just call that on the community side. I have him in the same spot. How about you guys?
Oh wait, are we talking about Asakoryu or
Asakoryu.
Oh, yes. I have Asakoryu at C+. Although I will say he was way over promoted for a 10 and 5 from Maegashira 16. Like what? Like an 8 rank boost puts him in completely unfamiliar territory. However, I still think that he can get a winning record simply because, he's just been really good for the past year. He had that 7-0 U show at Maegashira, at Makushita 3, 23-7 in his 2 Juryo tournaments. He's 18-12 since making his debut. Like, not quite sure where the ceiling is just yet, but I don't know if he's reached it. Hasn't had a losing record since last January, and that was when he was still in Makushita. So it certainly feels like he's a guy that's just very quietly on the ascent. I'm not sure I'd put him in the 10-win range yet, but yeah, he's a guy that is maybe getting harder to that's hard to figure out at the moment.
So you got him where? C+?
Yes, C+.
Okay. So we are all in agreement, and I have no quibble with anything you just said. I think he got a little nervous not last boss show, in January in his debut. He had shown he was capable of doing the work, and then he was doing the work, and then he started losing, and it all looked like it was coming apart. But then from 5 and 7, he made his way to 8 and 7 and was able to salvage his spot in the division, which was really good. And then that, I guess, either that or, something else in between really helped things click for him. And he really showed what he can do. Now, him getting over promoted, again, that is relevant in general. But the way I figure it, if everyone gets over promoted, then it doesn't really matter. And so many guys, because we were just talking about Fuji and Chio and Asakoryu. Well, he's not going to fight Asakoryu because they're stablemates. But all of these guys got super promoted too. So he's not really running into a bunch of guys who we should expect to be that much better than him. And then the guys who are much more proven are hurt. So yeah, this seems like it's set up for him to do well. And yeah, I think we all kind of feel that way.
Yeah, and honestly, like, the more I think about it in my head, like, I don't see why he shouldn't be a sleeper to potentially win 10 just because of who he's going to be going up against for most of the tournament. So certainly a guy to keep an eye on.
Yeah. Once you get into the single digits, the only thing is once you get into the single digits, if you succeed early, you get put up against the joy quicker. And that's why I'm a little reluctant to put too many guys in B tier at this level, unless I'm really, really sure about them. But that's not a statement about their ability, just the way the scheduling works. All right. 9E.
Yeah, I
Wow.
wasn't gonna say anything, but you did kind of,
Son of a
you did
bitch.
accidentally organize it strangely. It's
What?
okay. We will do Abi, and then we'll simply scroll up to Nishiki Fuji.
Technology is so hard, but I'll manage.
Abi No Neck, I gave him a B. Um, I am maybe that's more of a hopeful B, like me thinking that what that injury that he suffered like is healed, and now that he's in an area where he's just way more skilled and experienced than a lot of the guys he'll be going up against, he'll kind of be able to thrive in this area. Now obviously that is me assuming that the injury that bothered him in March is pretty much gone. um, but, like, even once he came back from that injury, like, he went what was that? 4 and yeah, he went about 4 and 4 against just, the guys that he was generally up against. So now that he's lower down, I don't see why he can't, be at least like, an 8-win guy, when the competition is less fierce.
Yeah, he actually went 4-3. Now
Well,
the
I don't
wins,
count the oh yeah, I didn't count the win before he pulled out because that's me assuming that he got injured in the middle of that match, but
he didn't.
I could be
All his
wrong.
wins came after he came back. He lost to Kotoshoho and Ichiyamamoto, then he dropped, and then
What
he
I
came
meant to
back.
say is I don't count the Ichiyamamoto loss as a loss because I assume that he got hurt in that one.
No, he was
Whatever.
hurt. He was hurt before the Basho.
Okay.
Like he had a fracture in his back, which is why I reacted during the Basho. Like, how is the doctors know that he needs to be gone for a week? But then some people in the comments were like, actually, with that kind of fracture, that is correct. I'm like, wild. But that's why I also have him B tier, because if he was able to come back, so he beat Churanoumi, who he normally beats, and that's fine. He beat Wakamoto-haru, who was hurt. He beat late stage Asanoyama, who has not been good. But he also beat Yoshinofuji, but Yoshinofuji looked like he slipped and maybe got hurt in the process. So those wins were like, but the losses were not shameful in any way either. Like Wakatakakage got hurt beating him because that was a war. He's 0-2 against Fujinokawa. Fuji's just got him. And Nishiki Fuji might not be generally at his level, but he is good. So, like, that's no shame in that loss. So, yeah, I have him at B tier because if the injury is supposed to heal relatively quickly, I have no reason to think he's going to be completely messed up come May. And at this level, if he's not completely messed up, he should win. He should definitely win.
Totally agree. And I can kind of tell that the community agrees as well. That, like,
yep.
As long as he's healthy, like Akashi Koshi almost feels like the floor with how much how higher of a class of combatant he is right now.
Honestly, going through all this stuff, I feel like I'm becoming not as much of more of an expert on sumo, but more of an expert on just gauging how hurt human beings are, which is something, just not the skill I expected to boost.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a skill that you can necessarily put on a resume, but it is a skill.
Can I be doctor now? No, you can't. All right, 9 West, scrolling up because technology. Nishiki Fuji, clear C- from the community. How about you?
I went F. There is nothing about his recent sumo that impresses me like at all, despite what he did in March. Like I'm just so unimpressed with him as a Maegashira single digit fighter just across his career. Like he's 29 now, so he should be in his physical prime, but he's not. He's been injured in was that 3 of his last 8 basho, 3 of his last 5, whatever it is. Yeah, I am just not liking what I'm seeing out of him when he like has to go up against guys that are even marginally skilled or, just marginally performing well. I'm happy to be proven wrong, and and that hopefully what he did in March is a sign of things to come and not the aberration, but I'm just feeling that like the losses are going to stack and they're going to stack quickly for him.
So I put him at C+, because partly, small part of this is because I am an illiterate stupid. I believe I said something about him being at the same rank that he was the last time he started out well, which was, but then got hurt, which was in January when he was 11 West, which was 2 ranks lower than he is now. I don't know why I thought that. That was dumb as hell. But I don't know that that materially changes what I think he's capable of. So, yes, near the bottom of the division, I grant. But in November, he was 9-6. And then at 14 West, last Basho, he was 9-6. But at 11 West, which is a little closer to relevance, he started 6-3. And then the injury sort of took over. And then he pulled out because he was safe in the division. He didn't need to fight anymore to stay in Makuuchi. And that was really smart. The injuries are always going to be a problem. Like, they may not affect him every time, but they're always a risk. So you got to take that into consideration. And they could do it again. And I acknowledge that. But he is also a guy who back in 2023 got all the way up to Maegashira 3. Now, he got absolutely mollywopped, but he got there. His skill level is much better than where he is right now. It's a question of his frame. Can it hold up? I am kind of crossing my fingers that it will. So I have him C+. I think C- is also reasonable in that line of thinking. F tier, if you're right, my God. Like, it's very rare that we have picks so disparate that we literally cannot both score off of them. But if he gets 6 or fewer, only you score, and if he gets 7 or more, only I score. Between the two of us, community separate. But that's
there's clearly a chasm of difference between us on this one. This one, I'm just not really confident in Nishiki Fuji's health. But maybe his skill pushes him to that 7 wins. So we'll see very quickly. I think you might find out as early as like the first week.
Nishiki Fuji was wrapped like a mummy and covered in cut marks and got 9 wins. I believe in him now. I mean, there are worse reasons.
Yeah, that is compelling.
All right, now we have to scroll past Abi to get to 10 East and Asanoyama. And this one is another B or C+ on this one for Asanoyama. The poll is going up shortly.
Yeah, we have him at B, and maybe we're being a little overly optimistic because, the results just don't show it. And also, like, he just seems to constantly be running out of steam at the end of Basho. It's 2 straight tournaments that he has lost the remaining 3 matches. It just seems that he just gets too exhausted, due to the litany of injuries that he's dealt with over the past 2.5 years. Like, it's just so unfortunate how, like, the suspension combined with the injuries turn a guy that was once like a near certainty for Yokozuna into a guy that is struggling to simply get back to single digits in the Maegashira ranks. It's unfortunate. It's also sumo. So
yeah, and I don't think you're overestimating him because I have him in the same place, and for a lot of the same reasons. Yes, he has lost the last 3 matches, each of the last 2 tournaments, but he also had his winning record locked up by that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's just his stamina is lessened in general, or if it's actually his leg. So the first tournament back, it looked like his leg was dragging. Like it just wouldn't keep up with the rest of his body. The second tournament, it looked more like he was just sort of generally worn out. I don't know what to make of that, but he hasn't risen in rank enough for me to think that he's not going to do basically the same thing. he's got essentially the same level of competition around him. So I see no reason to think he isn't going to go, 8-4, 9-3 again, even if that means tanking the end of the tournament, which is still a winning record. Like, I don't know how he goes 7-8, really.
Not to mention, he gets to bypass two of the potentially tougher guys that are ranked right above him, in Asakoryu and Hakunofuji.
Yeah.
So it does mean that he's more likely to get guys that are ranked lower than him as the tournament progresses, as opposed to guys that are higher ranked than him. So that certainly could work in his favor for this tournament, at least. So, maybe 9 or even 10 is doable if he has a strong first week.
It's actually, now you bring up like whether he's going to fight up or down in rank. So given where he is, or given that the Sanyaku is bigger, and now there's one less rank below him, if we look at Roga's previous tournament, he fought, so 10 West is essentially 10 East in terms of where he is in the overall. So he fought the 10s, 9s, 11s, 12s, like 8s. So he fought up and down. Now, Roga ended up fighting down because he wasn't doing that well. Asanoyama, if he's doing better, he'll probably fight up. But, like, if we look...
So if you actually look at Kotoshoho in January, Kotoshoho started off a little bit above average and still wound up getting guys that were downstream of him. So it seems like the trend simply is for the second week, they pit him against guys that are lower than him, which, granted, may not even help him at all, considering how talented some of the guys below him are. But that might be a conversation for later.
The thing with Kotoshoho, though, is he didn't get his 8th win until day 14, and that 8th win matters a lot in how you get scheduled. So if Asanoyama gets his 8th win on like day 11 or 12 or something, his schedule is going to get a lot harder. But he's still going to have his Kachikoshi at that point. So that's why I'm not really worried about it. Right?
Sure.
All right. The vote is 50-50, for the love of God. Oh, B. We're going to go 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now a little pause, because I don't know if when I'm hearing it or when I'm saying it is going to be different than when I close the poll. Is it going to sound like I cheated? Now it can't possibly be the case. We end the poll. He is at C+ for the community. Just barely. Just barely. All right. Hakunofuji. What? So this is a star chart. What the hell am I looking at?
So the problem with Hakunofuji, and it's kind of the same problem as Onosato, though I didn't apply my logic the same with him. Like, my just base assumption is that he is simply not going to fight all 15, like, under any circumstance. Like, it's just the past 2 tournaments, his recent form, the scandal just kind of bearing down on him. Like, I went F in large part because of my flat-out assumption that he is not going to fight all 15 days. So it feels pointless to even guess what he would do if he did. I mean, like, sky's the limit if he fights for 15, but with what he's done in the past year, how can I possibly assume he's capable of getting that? Do you see where I'm coming from?
I see where you're coming from, which is why I'm going to say, like, since we tend to discount guys who go Kyujo, if you think if you imagine he does go all 15 days, do you want to change that pick?
God, I don't know how I can, because I haven't seen what he looks like yet when these last 2 injuries aren't affecting him even. Because he's gone Kyujo in his last 2 tournaments, so it's hard for me to even consider what he looks like now. And it's just like so many things have gone wrong in his career. I don't know where he is physically. I don't know where he is psychologically. I'm feeling F just because I just don't know where I don't even know where his head is at, let alone his body's at, which is why I feel like erring on the side of, he's more likely to do poorly than he is to do well. He's had trouble with his master, he's had trouble with his body, like he hasn't had more than 8 wins since God was a boy. I don't know how to grade him right now, which is why I feel that F is just, where he belongs until he shows that he's got the sumo again, or that he can, you know, contend again.
So even if he grinds out all 15 days, you think it's not going to go well?
I really don't. I just think that, after everything that's happened to start this year, that things are just not going well for him in general.
Okay, fair enough. I am in agreement in general, just not to the severity. I have him C-, because I think it is quite possible that if he recovers somewhat or has found a way to limit the pain, then as long as he doesn't go through a fight. So like the first day of March, he obviously aggravated the injury. If he somehow manages to not do that, I think he can get through all 15 days. I agree. It's probably not going to look good. I think 8-7 is a top end result, because even when he was healthy coming up the ranks, he had a lot of 8-7s. So he's not necessarily like a win monster, even when he's doing well. But yeah, C- for me, and the community is heavily D tier. Wow. None of us are feeling
I
that.
think it's just the past 3 tournaments have really just eroded all of the hope we once had in this young man. And like, how could it not?
Yeah. He's in prove it mode. Like, we got to see it happen now to believe it's going to happen again.
I mean, if you want like the real Hakunofuji black pill, so to speak, it's that between everything that's happened in his career, like switching stables, problems with Teranofuji, problems staying healthy, like it is not beyond the realm of possibility that he is closer to flat out leaving sumo than he is to ever being a Sanyaku fighter. That might be like the ultimate Hakunofuji black pill, so to speak.
It's at this moment in time, I think that's a reasonable take. I think that he can recover. That doesn't mean he will. And it doesn't matter for the coming Basho, because that's the future. And we are talking about a much closer future right now.
Yes, we are.
All right. So we move on and we talk about somebody who probably wasn't hurt and just struggled last time, and that is Pinky Boy.
Do we have when you republish this, please put in the Ura Hour clip from the New to Sumo podcast. Is there like an S+ rank or like or just like a big old star that you can put? Because like I think Ura's due for like 17 wins in this tournament.
Yeah, we just have a S tier. Like I said, we keep it casual. We keep it simple.
Jokes and memes aside, I've got him at a solid B. I do think that like he's in like the perfect zone for him to just sort of, take advantage of guys that are going to be either injured or maybe a little bit more lumbering and sort of unable to handle his craftiness. Although, I gotta say, I was really impressed with some of the sumo he did last time. Like, he was straight up Yori Kirying guys rather than trying to, use their momentum against them. I liked what he was trying to do, even if it kind of blew up in his face after the first couple of days. So I'm hopeful that his bag of tricks will be more effective against his opposition this time than it was last time.
Yeah, I also have him in B tier. He is S tier in our hearts, but I have him in B tier for record. Because, yes, he at Maegashira 11, without showing an actual sign of injury, like the only concern of injury is just that he did so poorly. But that's not necessarily a reason, because he also had a kind of a rough set of matches. Like, okay, he lost to a bunch of injured guys. Like, he lost to Daisho, and he lost to Hakunofuji. But those guys are really tough for him. That's normal. A guy like Tamawashi, who struggled badly, if he can't get inside on Tamawashi just yeets him, and that's exactly what happened. And then you got all these other guys who were just flowing, Ichiyamamoto, Gonoyama, and then he finished, even though he was, after 11 days, he was 5-6, but he finished with 4 guys that all had winning records by the end, which is like, the only one I'm surprised he lost to was Mitakeumi, and even then, Mitakeumi is 9-4 against him lifetime. So I think he had a very rough schedule. It's not necessarily going to get a lot easier, but it should be easier enough.
Can't get harder.
Yeah, right. Especially as like a mid to low rank schedule. I think he'll be fine. If he goes 7-8 or worse, I'm going to be actually concerned. But at the moment, I'm not. And the Ura love is real in the community poll. He is B tier there as well, and it's not even close. This competition is going to spin on not that many different guys. All right, yeah. I'm here for it.
So does Kachi Clash. So
yeah, that is true. All right, on to 11 West. Kinbo Slice. I'm just going to let you talk.
It feels like his playoff against Hoshoryu was like a million years ago at this point. I went C+ for him. I just can never figure him out anymore. Like, he's gone 7-9 wins in 3 of his last 4, and that was when he was ranked slightly higher. So maybe now that and he won 9 last time, so maybe he's due to go back up to the low single digits. So I just feel that C+ is kind of where he is right now, and he's in his physical prime, so he should like, he's at the age where like clock is kind of ticking on him to show that he can be a joy fighter.
Yeah, he's in his physical prime. I don't know about his mental, but like, I have him at C+ as well, because this low down, the only time he has struggled at a double-digit rank was when he was definitely dealing with a neck injury. Fair enough. So if he's still double digits, all right, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, because he should do okay. But he also started March 4-5 before he got on a roll. Like, he's not doing great. He should just do well enough. That's where I'm at with him. There's enough okay, how do I want to put this? So for some of the guys lower down, I'm not high on them because I've seen them take advantage of when Makuuchi had a soft underbelly in the past, and it really doesn't right now, but that doesn't mean the bottom of the division is great. He should find 8 wins. That's pretty much what I got.
Fine by me.
And but he has angered the community. The community is not so friendly. The community is C-. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that one. Like, that's fair.
I guess they just see the lower ceiling, probably as a result of like the the promotion that kind of puts him outside the range of getting to fight anyone in Juryo, which did kind of
Yeah.
push him over the top last time. So
That is true.
I can understand it.
He is currently a 6 to 9 win guy. That's really how it feels. So which side of that line do you want to fall on? 12 East. Okay. Well,
Yes.
go ahead. So piss off one half.
Everyone's second favorite Ukrainian fighter.
So go ahead and piss off half the people. Just I'm curious which half it's going to be.
So for Shishi, I went B, largely because, much like I did with Daisho, it feels like there's somebody in this general range that like needs to be the guy that wins like 8 to 10, wins and just like surprises everyone by overachieving. And I think Shishi can be that guy. Like, recently he's shown that in this range, like, he just has a wildly different range of possible results down here. He's had, some 6 and 9s, but he's also shown that he can win, 9 wins in this area. I don't know if he can necessarily win 10, but I mean, like, sooner or later, someone surprises you with a first time thing, and he seems to be improving his hands work, which has always kind of been my biggest gripe with him, other than like his sort of lumbering style. I don't know. Like, I feel like I need to pick someone who's capable of overachieving this basho, and that could be Shishi. That's kind of my only rationale behind that.
I had him C-, and he was the last person who I bumped up after I finished the tier list. So I now have him at C+. I think putting him at B in one sense feels extremely optimistic, but in another sense, I think it's actually really logical. So I guess if you look at it like we're trying to get more correct picks than each other, I feel like 7 and 8 just doesn't fit in how he does things. He's either going to blow it and go 6 and 9 or worse, or he's going to go and win. He's not going to slightly lose. That's just not his style, right? But I went C+ because it's like, again, barely, only at the end, because he's got good matchups. And sometimes having a lot of guys on your schedule who you've done well against creates a confidence that can earn you that win or two that you might not otherwise have. And that's really all it comes down to. That's what swung me. He's got positive matchups, and that's it. The community is C+ on him as well. Which, fair enough. We're all feeling positive about Shishi. This does not bode well.
No, it does not. I kind of hoped that I might be on an island with my Shishi pick. Now I feel like I've jinxed it. Oh well.
Well, you couldn't do it on your own. This is a team effort. Toki Hayate, 12 West.
I have never once had a pulse on this guy. I oftentimes forget that he's even still in the first division. I went C+ just because I have like no idea what to expect from him. And that has kind of been the range. Like, 5 here, 8 there, 9 there, 7 there, 6 there, 8 there, 10 there, 7 there, 6 there, 9 there. Like, I just have no idea which way the winds are going to blow, and at his size, a wind blow will probably knock him off the dohyo. So,
yeah, he was another guy who kind of got shafted by the scheduling last time with them pushing him down in rank because he wasn't doing well, but almost everybody lower in rank being like doing a lot better than him. Like, there were not many poor records towards the bottom of the division. So I don't hold the 5 and 10 against him too much. I don't think that is a sign that he is collapsing, just like with Ura. However, the report that he has a torn MCL absolutely does weigh against him for me. I think down here at 12 West, and under normal circumstances, he's a C+ guy. I would be with you, but I went C- because of the knee injury, because it was definitely affecting him. There were definitely fights where you could see he did not have the kind of resistance or the push that he would normally have. Even healthy, I don't know that he would have necessarily had a winning record, but it went bad, and his knee looked like a proximate cause. So the community, clear C-. I got him C-. You're a little more helpful. If he manages to get a good enough knee brace, that's pretty reasonable. You might end up being right.
We shall see.
13 East, Kotoshoho. Now, you were like sort of low-key talking shit on him earlier, and I want to know more.
Was I? I think the only comment that I really have on Kotoshoho is that for some reason Kotoshoho always seems to be at his best when his brother is on the Bansuke. So, him somehow surviving last one with a 9-6 maybe bodes well for Kotoshoho Yusho. But I feel that he is just way out of his depth at Maegashira 13, because he's just way closer to like a high level Juryo guy than even like a low level Maegashira guy at this exact moment. That's why I went D for him. I kind of think that 6 or 7 wins is kind of his ceiling, and 5 wouldn't shock me at all.
That's fair. I have C- because I thought he fought better than I expected him to. I did not feel like his 9-6 was just kind of squeaking through with a couple of lucky wins or winning because a guy slipped or something like that. He was more effective overall than I expected him to be. I also think that even moving up in rank a little bit, he's not going to be that great. I think he's got a prayer though of a winning record. I think it's not a completely doomed idea. But the reason I said you were kind of talking shit on him earlier, and it was a passing comment. I don't blame you for not remembering. I think it was Oshoma we were talking about, and you're like, he's 0-3 against Kotoshoho. Like, that was the most damning piece of evidence against the guy. I was like, damn.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I think I said that just because Kotoshoho is like, he's too inexperienced at this level for someone as experienced as Chiyoshoma to be incapable of beating. I think that might be where my head was at when I dissed him like that.
Fair.
That was really more of a knock on Chiyoshoma than on Kotoshoho.
I guess I look
like,
at sumo like poker. Like, you
it's
got to
like
look
the
at the
idea
long term.
that the idea that Takayasu would lose to Atamifuji to Onishki right now seems very silly because of how much like more skilled and generally healthy Onishki is than Tamawashi, and yet Tamawashi, just clobbered him that one time, so it seems like that just shouldn't have happened.
Right. Fair enough. All right. Well, that's a pretty quick result for the community poll, which is definitely C- instead of C+. So community and I are on the same page there. That C- list is getting really long. Holy smokes.
Yeah. Well, because C- is the ultimate. Yeah, I feel like he's going to struggle, but I want to hedge my bets in case he gets a win. He gets a winning record. So C- is I'm not going to say the coward's rank, but it is the
No.
It's a rank for people that really don't know where this fighter is.
It feels very reasonable so often.
Yeah.
And like when we're doing it as a community, you don't really get that chance to look at how many guys you have at a certain rank and be like, that's too many. It just ends up where it ends up. But I think I had 15 guys at C- at the end, and there's already 15 there for the community, and we have 8 guys left. So let's see where this goes.
A much more interesting tier might be just a straight up Kachikoshi or Makekoshi like pull in future, because that would like really force people to choose whether they think someone is going to be on like a high end or the low end.
The only reason I don't do something like that, I mean, part of it is because I just set it up like this initially and I haven't had a great reason to change it. But people have suggested different ways to change it up, to, tighten up the ranges. And the reason I don't want to do that, outside of just keeping it nice and casual and easy to understand, is if I think a guy is going to get 8 wins, if I think that's his most likely number of wins, Sumo is so variable, there is such high variance in what can happen, that he can very easily end up 1 win higher or 1 win lower while fighting exactly the way I expected him to fight. So if we go Kachikoshi or Makekoshi, that's sort of the same thing. It's like, is he going to get 8 wins or is he going to get 7 wins? And one weird thing happening, even though he's doing exactly what we expect, can make it a wrong pick. And that's why I kind of don't do that. Plus, there are lots of other fantasy games out there for people who want to try and figure things out in that way. But yeah, that's my take on it. That's why I like to keep it nice and simple with this. But we're going to move on to 13 West, and it's Old Man Tamawashi.
Ah, yes, I remember. I think I remember beating him as an enemy in Ghost of Tsushima or something like that.
He's in Sekiro. I'm pretty sure he's the guy on the horse.
Yeah. Yeah, he was there for the invention of sumo. I went C+ with him. Like to this day, I don't know if like I will probably never know if any of his bad results are the result of injuries that he's fighting through or a decline in skill. Like the fact that he's still chasing that first winning record at whatever his age is, and kudos to him. I think I gave him we're giving him a C+ because it just feels like down here he's capable of getting it. Like he's still pretty damn strong for a guy that really should not be like that good for how long he's been in sumo. Not even counting the age, just how long he has been in sumo. And kudos to him on going this strong for this long. He's one of the few guys that doesn't make me feel bad for how old I'm getting, in watching sports.
That's reasonable.
It was less than a year ago that he went 11-4 at Maegashira Force. So like everything feels possible with this guy. He just once a year he seems to rediscover the fountain of youth. So it's like, how can I just assume that the losing records are going to continue when he's capable of things like that?
That's understandable. I feel like, so I went C-, and I feel like maybe I should have committed to lower because of this. So there's 2 things here. I'm actually going to pull this page over too. So if you look at his records, so there's a lot in here that are mid-rank, right? And it's consistently 7 to 9 wins. Consistently. For Basho after Basho after Basho. Then he had that little stint back up in the Joy. And he came back down. 7 and 8 at 4 East. 5 and 10 at 5 East was like, that's not great. But then at 9 West, he should recover, right? Like, this should go pretty well. And it absolutely did not. And this is his schedule. He beat Ura and Kotoeho by basically just face yeeting them, which speaks to what you said about him, being ridiculously strong. Oshomi was, a solid win. No problem there. But then Oshoma and Hakunofuji, he pushed out, and both of them are having lower body issues. So where is he going to get all these wins all of a sudden? Like you said, he might find the Fountain of Youth, but I think he actually needs to find the Fountain of Youth as opposed to kind of pulling it back together from maybe some minor injuries. This is March was the worst he's done at a lower rank in a long time. And I just have a feeling that's not going to improve that much. I didn't want to, I felt like going D tier was a little too much. Like, nope, I think he's totally done. He's going to have a losing record. That felt excessive, but I think he could actually fall apart this time. I think that is feasible.
It could be. I think Andrew kind of hit the nail on the head when he said no one wants to be the one who condemns Tamawashi first. Like, maybe it's just me. Like, I would feel so awful if I predicted his downfall only to be proven wrong by a 41-year-old man. By a guy who the last time he was ranked this low, Hakunofuji was still around. So,
oh my God, that's true.
Like, you seriously have to go all the way back to September 2013 to find the last time he was ranked this low in the top division. I think maybe I misread the Bansuke, but
let me double check it. But yeah, that sounds about right, because right now he is 13 West. He was 12 West in November of 23. Yeah, and that was the lowest in quite a while. Yeah.
12 East in 2016, 11 West in September 2013. That was the last time he was ranked this low.
Yeah. Yeah, sheesh. Like it feels like a slowish decline. Like I said he might completely fall apart. I don't really think he will collapse, but this could be a 6-9, 7-8. We're seeing the fade for real. He's just not that vulnerable yet.
There is a non-zero chance that this is, the last time that we see him in the top division if things, go poorly for him. Because a 5-10 could very well drop him to Juryo, which would, I think, like the last time, that happened, I don't even think the Emperor had been born yet. So, who, the Sith Emperor.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Who knows?
All right. Well, the vote is split. We need a few more votes. The vote is split. All right, keep going.
Well, I'm just going to move to Mitakeumi,
okay.
who is, a guy I have no
let's
pulse
see.
on either.
All right. Somebody voted C+. That's where he goes.
All right, fair enough.
So, community, Tamawashi to C+. Okay, Mitakeumi. All right, this one is a C- from the community.
The man who is finally, who is still tied for the second most Yusho among active competitors, which never stops being strange to say. I mean, this just is where he belongs right now. Like, he's probably going to struggle to get above this general area for the rest of his career. I went C+. That's probably me being way too kind. He probably belongs in C- just because of how much of a struggle it is for him to get winning records these days. Like, wow, he has split the last 2 fights in each of the last 4 Basho, which is quite interesting. But yeah, I just feel C+ is probably where he's at right now. I suspect that C- will be where the community picks him.
Yeah, C- was a definite win for the community, and that's where I have him. You get down to it, I don't think he's getting 9 wins. I don't know how he gets 9 wins. He barely got to 8 last time.
Yeah, I guess me picking C+ is me kind of saying, like, I just feel strongly about 7 and 8, but I can't choose just one of those two, so I give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
which,
that's
whatever.
I guess I remember those tournaments where he was getting absolutely dumpstered, even at lower ranks, because he was all messed up. His arm has recovered enough that I think we should not expect that. I have stopped expecting that. But 7 or 8 wins seems It seems like everybody who goes see something is going to be right here. Yeah, what can you do? 14 West, Roga. That is another C- for the community.
Yeah, and that's
Holy
another
smokes.
C+ for me for pretty much the same reason. Like, I kind of think it's going to be a 7 or an 8, and maybe I'm just, you know, trying not to anticipate his downfall when he tends to surprise me. Last time he was a Maegashira 14, he went 9-6. So, maybe my sense is that he's ranked low enough that there's nowhere to go but up.
So when he did that, because I remember that one, that was when he came back from Juryo, and I predicted him to do well because I saw his schedule and I was like, that's a juicy schedule. He should be able to do some work with that. And he did, and that was really cool. So these are his head-to-heads this time over the last 6 Basho. So if he fights all the way down to the bottom, which he should, he's beaten. Now these are, only 1 or 2 matches recently in most cases, but he beat Fujiroga, he beat Ryuden, he's 2-0 against Oshomi, 3-2 against Toby Zaru. Okay, hit and miss there. All right, Mitakeumi's gotten him a little bit, but he can beat him. He beat Tamawashi. Toki Hayate has been a problem, and even with the knee injury, he beat him. But okay, so that's not a great one. Shishi, Kinbozan are all beatable. Then he fights a little bit up in rank. He's beaten those guys as well. If we go longer term, these are still not bad. He absolutely waxes Ryuden, beats Oshomi, he's beaten Kotoeho, he crushes Shishi. Like, there are very few bad matchups for him. And at 14 West, we can kind of predict his schedule should be down to the bottom and then just working his way up with whoever they feel is an appropriate opponent. So I also have him at C+, because I just like who he has to fight. I think that's going to work out well for him.
Yeah, that's fair. I went C. I went C+ with. I just went C+ with him. I just think that he's in a sweet spot at the moment, and this honestly might just be the perfect spot for him. So I feel good over there.
Trying to figure out why I don't have the same number of guys left over. Wait, who did I not place for you? Shoryu. Oh, Asanoyama. Oh shit, that's right. Okay. You had Asanoyama at B tier.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. We're going to move on. The Flying Monkey is, we actually have a majority pick here from the community, and that is a C-.
For Toby Zaru?
For Toby Zaru. Yep.
Yeah, that's my pick too. I think we all kind of expected he would just bounce right back, and I think reality just kind of hit us in the face that Hiro Morita's favorite guy to give a nickname to just might not have it anymore.
Yeah.
That his days as a joy fighter are probably behind him, and that he's maybe just kind of playing out the string until his career ends. Who knows?
Yeah, what I pointed out, so on the tier list, I pointed out that he was 15 East back in September and he went 9-6. But I still was putting him at C- because in that tournament, he beat Shona Naomi, Sada Naomi, Kageyaki, and Nishikigi. Now, Nishikigi actually had him beat, but stepped out, which was dumb. But he's got nobody like that he can fight. He beat Ryuden in that tournament too, so he's got Ryuden this time as well. So that just balances out. But like, where are the weak points for him to take advantage of? I don't see them. Like, there aren't any.
Yeah, and like his trend for the last year has just been like really slow starts and only occasionally strong finishes. Like, it seems like he is like where he belongs right now, and he either needs to have some kind of late surge in his career, or he's going to get knocked down to Juryo, maybe spend a year there and then retire. Like, he's 34 right now, and he just turned 34. Like, it's not unrealistic to think that he's got maybe 1 or 2 years left of you know, salary level sumo in him.
It's wild that so many of these guys who are young look way older than they are, and Toby Zaru's 34 and looks like he's 25.
Yeah, like he is. I'm not going to say ageless wonder because that would almost be offensive to Tamawashi. But like he just, you know what, he has a very fresh face to him. Like he just has such like a young face, you know, kind of like Enho. Like if I look at Enho, I would assume he's like mid-20s when he's, I think yeah, he's going to be turning 33 soon.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think he's about
Sorry,
Toby Zaru's
32.
age.
Yeah, they're actual Enho's actually 2 years younger than Toby Zaru,
Oh
which
shit.
feels weird. Yeah. Um so yeah, Toby Zaru is probably he's at the Mitakeumi stage at his career, which is fitting because he's 8 months older than Mitakeumi, you know, like he's at where he's at because that's where he's at, you know, physically at this point.
Yeah, seems right. So we are not all in agreement, but everything feels reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
How did I end up with? No, that is correct. All right. Oshoumi.
Sakura looks all of 12. Yes, the ultimate baby face.
Yeah.
Oshomi, yeah, C plus for me. Maybe I probably should have gone C minus. Like, I mean, like this is the rank that he's just kind of at skill wise. For now, like he did have 10 wins in January, but I think that's maybe more of the exception to where he really like is as a fighter. Like Oshomi is a guy that like I always like he's a guy that whenever like I turn on Nato Sumo in the morning, like I say, "Oh, so that's who this guy I'm familiar with is fighting today." Well, that'll be a win.
He's like the B-side in a WWE matchup all the time.
Exactly. He's like the guy that you know is like he belongs on the main card, but he kind of just exists for like the high level guy to just kind of, you know, have like a decently length match with. He's like Carlito.
Yeah, there was a guy back in the day, I think his name, he went by like the Dynamite Kid, and he showed up a few times, and he was basically that guy, and then all of a sudden he won a match, and it was like they were turning one of those guys into a star. And that feels like Oshomi could end up being that guy, but he's still in the B-side stage of his career. The community has gone very clearly C+ for him.
Yeah, which makes sense based on what he did in January and November. So
yeah,
sounds good.
I went C+, but it's gonna be completely injury based, really. Like, is he gonna be healthy enough to live up to what we know he can do? I don't know. We're gonna find out. I'm holding out hope.
Speaking of jobbers, as Girthquake mentioned, Wakanosho, I went just straight up F. I think he's gonna get KO'd in this one. Like, I think like it's gonna be one of those like he's a little bit in over his head right now, just because of how long it took him to finally like get here. He was in Makushita for so long. He didn't have like that rapid ascension, you know, and I just wasn't maybe overly impressed with what I saw him do um in the last tournament. Maybe I'm being way too hard on him, but I don't know. I just maybe I was too focused on other guys that I just was not impressed by what I saw from him. But yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to doubt myself just looking at his at his like recent form. I don't know. I just like generally guys that are making their debut, they either way overperform or just stunningly underperform. And I'm not really sure what direction Wakanosho is going to go in. So I guess I veer towards F this time. But I'm having serious doubts about that all of a sudden. Yeah, I don't know why I went. I
So
was so harsh on him. I don't know.
so I get the idea
Okay.
of it taking him a long time to make it through the ranks and that not looking great. But then I figure, well, the worst case, so the most famous recent example of a guy that I can think of, at least, of a guy who was just very much a jobber and then somehow sprinted Juryo and made it to Makuuchi was Kotokuzan. And he actually hung in for a tournament and before he got plopped back out and sent sailing right back down the ranks. So is Wakanosho better than Kotokuzan? By miles. By miles. I don't think it's even close. I don't think it's even a discussion. Sometimes a dude takes time to figure things out. I have started to realize that. Like, I think with this sport, it can seem like if a dude is big and strong and reasonably skilled, then he'll probably do well and then just get better. Or if he doesn't have it, he'll just kind of get to a point that he'll stick at and sort of yo-yo around. I think in a lot of cases that's true, but then I look at someone like Churanoumi, who's having this like late career renaissance, and it's legit. He is sticking around. Toki Hayate took quite a while to start moving up the ranks, but eventually he did it. There's other Asakoryu, right? And there are other guys like that. Wakanosho is not that, like, he's only 22. So once he put some size on him, and like in the tier list, I compared him to Fuji Ryoga because both of them are enormous pushers. That is the focus of their game. But Fuji Ryoga got abused because he could not fight on the belt. He didn't even try to fight on the belt most of the time. He just looked like he had no idea what to do. Wakanosho is not that great on the belt, but he's not hopeless. And that on its own was enough to make me think, well, if Fuji could get to 7 wins, Wakanosho's got to be able to get to 8. He's gotta, right? So
Sure.
that's where I've got him. I've got him in B tier.
Yeah, like after here, like I guess my main thing originally was someone down there's got to be in B tier because someone always is. Like once you're like in like the down in the bottom, someone always winds up being a surprise B. And I think I need to call an audible here. I know I went F originally. I think just based on your arguments, I'm going to push him to C plus.
Holy shit. Okay.
Well, it's just like I think I looked too hard at what like other guys that made their debut and just failed, and having been so impressed with them in Juryo and so underwhelmed with them on debut, specifically Fuji Ryoga, that I was like, well, if Fuji Ryoga is going to struggle, then everybody is going to struggle. But I think I need to sort of recognize that, that simply isn't the case. And if you have like the body and the skill, then you're capable of overperforming, even if it's your first time. So, and that's the thing, like, I am not like I understand, Spiffy argument for the wins. Spiffy sold that, but the fact is, I am still, like learning the sport and learning more about some of these guys, many of whom I simply did not get a chance to watch, their past couple of bashos. So I'm open to being convinced that Wakanosho, is better than I thought he was, and yeah, I think you've won me over in that regard. So yeah, I think I can go C plus. B might just feel a little too much for me right now.
All right. Well, and the couple votes just came in for C plus. Now C plus and C minus are tied. Oh boy. But it's been long enough. I'm gonna call it. Well, you know what? Then that would just give it to C minus. Next vote between C plus or C minus takes it. Somebody swing the poll. Wait. No, that wasn't quite as bad as I thought it was. C plus.
All right.
So the community goes C plus. New to Sumo podcast goes C plus. I go B. No, I'll save that for the end. All right, two more guys. All right, everyone's favorite, Ryuden. That, I think we're just going to call that a C minus from the community. That looks about right.
Yeah, I mean, I also went C minus,
Same.
It's just this also is where he belongs, like there's a chance he could get his Kachikoshi, but feels like he's just gonna be, flipping between low Maegashira and high Juryo for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, he is a clever wrestler. Like, my personal dislike for him aside, I have never hidden the fact that I find him very tactically sound. He has good ideas, especially against guys who are inexperienced enough that he can take advantage of, and that'll do work.
I mean, also,
but
kudos to him. He's been demoted to Juryo 3 times in the last 2 years, but he hasn't had back-to-back trips to Juryo since 2022. So
yeah,
he knows he's a cockroach for sure.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm leaving that one alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, C minus. I think so. Community's got it. Yeah, we all got him at C minus. I think that seems pretty reasonable. And the last one, Fujiryoga, the disappointment of March, which is not like a very poetic way of saying it, but it is the truth. I will put up a C plus C minus poll for Fujiryoga. Cyberstag, last guy. Tell us what you think.
All right, so I'm going to go B, and I know that doesn't seem to fit with what we physically saw from him last tournament, but I think that he could be in line for kind of like an Atamifuji like situation where people may not remember this because it was a year before his great tournament, but when he first went to Makuuchi, he was pretty darn bad. Like he went, I think, 4-11 in his first tournament, and then spent like another year or so in Juryo before having his breakthrough tournament in September 2023. And I think Fujiryoga, will learn from his mistakes. Will
Still there?
His master
Yeah, okay.
certainly will. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. I think his master certainly is going to like really, whip him into shape and get him to just attack that belt. And, once he gets his hand on it and he's got that leverage, he'll be able to use that strength to push guys out the way that Atamifuji did. I'm not saying that he's going to contend for a Yusho the way that Atami did, but I do think that, that sort of that maiden Kachikoshi in top division is coming. And maybe he'll even take advantage of a couple of early Juryo matches and and reach 9 to 10 wins.
Okay. I've got him at C plus. The chat also, yeah, this one is a pretty easy win for C plus. And speaking for myself, so you said B for him. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So C plus, not that much different. Here's why I am. So I had him A minus in March because I agree with you about his potential. But one of the things that you said was you think his master will get him to like get in there and get on the belt and just heft the dude out. And here's why I disagree with that. That's not how he fights. He like if you go to Sumo DB and you look at his Kimirite, he's got 27 wins by Oshidashi and then 8 by Yorikiri. He doesn't really get on the belt even to force the guy backwards. He is a pusher. he needs at least remedial belt skills if he's gonna get any work done in this division, and those are harder to come by than just big push, right? I think they'll work on it. I don't think there's any way they don't work on it. So I think 7-8 feels like a worst case scenario. Like, even though he was 6-8 and had to win his last match to get to 7 in March, it still feels like he should really not do any worse than that. But it still seems very possible. It still seems like he could just tank out of the division if he actually does not learn those basic belt skills to keep himself from looking like a fool, which he did in several fights in March. I think we all realize he should do well. Just a question of how well is that going to be this time? And the way I figure, if he does figure it out, then I'm not just going to be wrong if I go C+. I'll probably be wrong if I go B, because he's probably going to get like 11 wins. So I'm just going to lean towards, yeah, he didn't do great and he's still got to learn, and I'll let him prove it. That felt about correct.
I mean, the great thing about Fuji Ryoga that I'm looking forward to is this is only his, I think this is only his 8th basho. You know, he was great, obviously, at the amateur level, which is why he, got that special start spot. But he clearly has all of the physical tools to be, not just like a decent top division guy, but potentially a dominant one if he gets the skill under him. The problem is the skill clearly isn't there yet. And as we've seen with some guys, if you don't get the skill, then the longer you're here, the easier it is for guys who do have the skill to figure you out and overcome your, size and strength advantage. I do feel that it is far more likely that by the end of this year, he is closer to the Joy than to Juryo. And
okay.
I think the question is whether that ascension starts in May or in July or September.
Yeah, I have a feeling this one is going to be okay, and then we're going to see an acceleration as time goes on. He should, by this time next year, if he's not in the Joy, then he is not getting done what he should be capable of. Which says a lot, because dude is young, right? He's 23. Okay, he's not quite as young as I thought.
He's only a couple months only a couple months younger than Atamifuji, believe it or not.
He's actually older than Wakanosho, which I didn't know. All right. Well, that's the tier list. Oh, I don't think it got mentioned before, but didn't you say something about putting some money on Onishki losing his Ozeki rank?
So you will hear it here. I am willing to bet $25 to, either yourself or charity of your choice.
Charity.
That Onishki will fail to retain rank in May, and that he will be a Sekiwake in July.
$25. Yep.
That is my $25 prediction. And I'm speaking on behalf of myself, on behalf of Cyberstag. I will not speak for my brother, who might have left the chat in outrage after I first suggested it a while ago. But yes, I do believe that the injury combined with possible shattered confidence will result in a drop, and I'm willing to put money on it. So it sounds to me like you are okay with that bet.
Yeah. I mean, so okay. So let me make sure I understand what you're proposing here. Are you proposing that you're just going to throw in 25 if he doesn't get it, or are you specifically asking me to bet my own 25 that he will make it?
Well, yeah, because other like that's not me expressing $25 worth of confidence. Like, yeah, I'm a sports bettor, my friend. I
Okay.
expect when I make a proposal, I expect a reward from for being correct, of course.
All right. You know what? Well, because I keep putting my $20 on the line and no one has to pay anything if I lose. So I have a slightly different take on this. But I'm good with that. I'm good with that. I will take that bet. So one of us is paying $25 based on how Onishki does. And then I may also owe more money if the community or you guys beat me.
Well, I'll tell you what. If so, like, to give you an extra something, if you beat us, we will give you a recording bump to just brag about how great you are in our first video after that. How's that?
All right. That's fair.
You know, hi, I'm Sumo Spiffy, and I'm better than the New to Sumo podcast. And then our little intro will play, something like that. However you want to do it.
All right, that's fine. I expect nothing, so anything is a bonus. So that's cool.
All right,
I'm good with it.
Perfect.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this. Yeah. Let's try that outro again. So that'll do it for the stream. Thank you to Cyberstag from the New to Sumo podcast for joining in and releasing their picks on the stream. That was awesome. Everybody say thank you to Cyberstag. Good night and goodbye. I mentioned there's one more special video coming up before the Basho. I am working on it. I don't know exactly how it's going to look, but it is going to happen. And thank you everybody who's helped with the subscriber thing. Because I had no intention of trying to get to 10K this early, and then Goose threw down the gauntlet, and it's like, we got to try. And it looks like we're going to get there, and that is awesome, and I appreciate you all. So, that's going to do it. Have a wonderful Saturday or Sunday if you are up very, very late in Australia. And I'll catch y'all again soon. Thanks, Cyberstag. Appreciate it.
Thank you all, and I'll catch you on the next one.
All right.